Yeah, so right now we're just gonna. There was a game that I saw the other day, and by the other day I mean, on Monday, Monday the 20th. There's this game, Luminosity versus Renegades, and I thought it was super interesting. It wasn't. So this is the game where the guy runs Junkrat and Nepal, and we're not. I mean, we're gonna look at that eventually, but right now the interesting part of this entire matchup was this first one. Interview, Johnny Tower here. I think it's... There should be a command that shows it. Hold on. Maybe I just spelled it wrong. There you go. That should be the link to the interview. Junk Central? That's the fucking command? Fucking A, I'll have to talk with the mods to get that command changed. Yeah, that's a pretty shit command. Yeah, so I didn't see this guy running Junkrat before, and I'm not reviewing this because it is the Junkrat match. It just so happened that shit lined up that this all came apart at the same time. But either way, let's start with this. Oh, come on, YouTube. Don't do this to me. It's supposed to be a professional cast. Son of a bitch. Hold on. No one cares about your goddamn intro.
Timing's overrated.
So, here we have Renegades versus Luminosity. Their first match was on King's Row, and this is the one I want to look at specifically. Yeah, not professional. I'm sorry. The interesting thing is one team, they haven't picked their guys yet. Get out of here, you casters. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
I guarantee you, Hadan will not be playing
So when they switch, they're going to be running a dive comp with the Pharah, and the defense is actually running the near identical thing. The one hero we want to point out that's different is instead of running a second DPS or a third DPS like they're running Tracer, Genji, Pharah. They're just running Tracer, Pharah, and instead of the third DPS, they're running a tank, and that's going to be important later on. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch through this once, at least the first point. And I think I just want just think what in your head why they won it and what's going on there. I think it's good to get that type of baseline. And we're also dealing with the spectator system in Overwatch. So here it is, expected of a dive comp, right? They get dove on, but the defense counter dives, right? So both teams right now trade their supports. They're trying to finish people off. And it seems to be going well. But then the offense just loses. Right? Defense is all back. So you're like, alright, maybe they got outskilled or something like that. Let's see what happens next.
And this is interesting because LG, they weren't able to regroup quick enough. They're going to take this.
And this, what I find interesting about this entire game, and what we're going to be doing after this first point happens, is let's see, they dive again, they counter dive, they go off, they pair off to strong with the weak matchups, like the Winston versus Genji. They take out a couple, and then they have to disengage. The dive comp again loses to the counter dive. So this is a really interesting answer to the dive comp that's coming up so often these days. Dive comp is becoming more and more common. I'm seeing it like a lot. And so let's just keep on seeing what's happening. So right now you're like, oh man, they're just getting outskilled. But I don't like leaving stuff to skill. I like having strategy and tactics to, you know, lend me a hand. Because you're never going to be the best guy all the time, and you're going to get beaten skill versus skill. So you need strategy to back your ass up. There we go. Another dive comp. They lose one support, a second support. All right, you're like, what the fuck? How does this dive comp on defense keep destroying this offense? Right, that Pharah vs. Pharah is just outplayed. She was busy looking down, and there was another Pharah higher than her. So there we go, another clean defense. This is an old pro game. This is from Monday. Yeah, Winston's actually a really big part. Bokuto. Winston is quite important, both on dive and counter dive. So they switch to a Reaper, try to deal with this Winston threat. Again, they dive. But again, they use Reinhardt ult to essentially separate the dive. Right? One team committed, Reinhardt split the team that dove, like the team in half. They dealt with the dive comp with the rest of their team, and then they came in and cleaned up the team that was stunned. So again, they beat the dive comp. What is it? I think this is their 5th push.
He will have it for the next fight as well, but that is it. That's all they've got with 50 seconds left to push.
Ube is definitely going to be the one.
Yeah, that was their 4th push.
Will he be able to use this Dragon Blade to put his team over the top? He won't have a nano boost or any shenanigans with it. He's got
So here we go again, another dive. This is fucking great.
on Sherlocky, but no, Sherlock
Alting Genji loses to an Ana.
takes down Ube. Oh my goodness, Hex, not like this. Renegades looking like they very well could be full holding.
Oh yeah, this is from the Carbon series. This is up here.
In this young first day of this tournament, it has been Anna's paradise so far, as Mangachu's just going to be
So far they're really doing a number on him with the counter dive comp as a dive.
massive Pharah this entire game. Just kind of
Then we get almost a wholesale change. Spree goes to Soldier. They pull out a Roadhog. They pull out a Reinhardt. The Zenyatta they're running at start goes to Ana. They almost change everything up for this.
annihilating supports in the back. Will it be enough? Ana,
So the dive happens, the counter dive happens,
not the greatest,
but
still not attacked right
offense gets a couple picks, and they bridge the time between respawns with Lucio ult there.
a very late sound barrier keeps most people alive as they will.
And because they have extra beef on the field with the Reinhardt and the Roadhog, both of those guys survive. Now they survive to the respawns, and with the overtime spawn disadvantage, they actually get the point.
Of Luminosity right now.
So they abandoned the dive comp, which, hey, it wasn't working. I'm glad they abandoned it at some point in time, but they definitely waited, I think, 5 pushes, deep.
that cleanly. They went out, they lost their front line, and it didn't matter. So LG is going to be able to stay alive at least for a little bit longer here. Hex.
You think this is a boring game? I'm going to fucking break this down to you and why that first point, what you guys just saw, was some of the most amazing play strategically that Overwatch has seen in a while. And what it can tell us in the future for dealing with dive comps.
Will be rejoining this fight. Barrage is on the
It'll teach us a lot what to do against dive comp as a dive comp or as just any other composition in general.
the Earthshatter in from Juvenile, gonna knock down 3, and Mangachu
So here we go, Streets Phase 1,
just give it a side of rockets instead. And this is gonna be
and they just get caught out.
continuing to push up heavily on this defense.
Who needs justice when
This Pharah is doing work.
justice right there as Mangachu
She's essentially acting as a flanker. I know people don't only see flanks as like left and right sides, but this above them is a flank.
waiting for them to
You can get flanked from above, and if there's like water or underground routes, you can get flanked from below as well.
Well, off the top rope, as it were. There's a nano boost. There's a
Here we go. Pharah combo. She doesn't die. That's goodish, but they wasted 2 ults to get 2 tanks. And because offense has the ability to disengage whenever they want,
Timing's overrated.
they used all these ults, and they're like, all right, we'll just lose 2. We'll back out.
here where they can have a 6v4 hex that lets them get through at least the second part of second.
So now they're re-engaging after the ults were used.
fight. They like
They get a pick, and then they pressure this pick just super hard.
Spree and Ice
Right? They got one of the tanks, they killed the other tank, and at that point when there's no tanks, you want to put as much pressure on the opponent as you can.
Luminosity
Without tanks, you have very little ability to control small amounts of space.
in the turbo. That's
That's what tanks do. Tanks don't do damage mitigation. They control small amounts of space, and some tanks control space through damage mitigation. But this is why Roadhog is considered a tank, or at least why I consider him a tank, and no one else does. So a little aggressive, but the aggression is destroyed with Zarya Tracer combo. At this point, they wasted so much time on the first point that they got 13 seconds left. Yeah, they force a stagger out to like an immense proportion. Ana will never make it back or even have the ability to nano boost someone, even if she did have it. And they hold. So now let's break down. Let's break it down. What happened at this first point? And we're going to be looking at this shit over and over and over. These first 5 minutes, we're going to be really detailed oriented on them. So let's look at the first push.
I guarantee you, Hadan will not be playing Junkrat.
Now, one thing I find interesting on this defense here, Hex, is that it's not relying on anything like a builder.
So there is one thing to know. I believe
Timing's overrated.
Renegade knew what Luminosity was going to run. They knew their habits, so they did their research. I believe they specifically ran a dive comp against a dive comp on purpose. This wasn't just a fortuitous composition. Wasn't just chance.
The Winston and Mangachu coming in over the top as Pharah, so even though they're still running the Reinhardt, it feels like this is going to be one very aggressive counter-punching Renegades defense.
Here we go. Now let's look what happens when the team dives. They come out and they're immediately... They're just going to immediately get on the supports. Now, at this point... Hold on, I got a picture. I got a picture. Aw, yeah. Here we go. This is where this entire game takes place, or is what I care about the game takes place. I believe the Tracer was over here because she's going to dash above. Oh, I can't alt-tab with this damn annotation program. So what happened is as the team came around this way, with their dive comp, with the Winston, Pharah, Tracer, Genji, the defense was already here. And as they went above them, the dive passed, instead of going back to try to defend this, they just dove in. Right? And we'll see that right here. We're going to see it. So there's the Tracer. There's the Winston. The Genji's there as well. At the exact same time, the Pharah, the Reinhardt, the Winston, and the Tracer all jump on their supports. This essentially, they just traded two supports. Now, when they traded the two supports, what are we left with? DPS, 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 Winston. What does the defense have? Pharah, DPS, Tracer, DPS, but then two tanks. So as the defense was coming back, they came back as 4. We'll just say 4. Now you think, hey, we killed 2 other guys. Now this team's going to come back as 4. But what happened is Reinhardt went first. That's what we're seeing right here. So Reinhardt went first, and because he's a tank and he has extra hit points, they're going to stay busy for a longer period of time. As we see, we got, I believe, all 3. They got the Pharah that we're watching, the Winston in front of us, and the Tracer all trying to kill this Reinhardt. Since he has, look at this. Any other class would be dead. Any other class would be dead. This is like Reinhardt's extra 200 hit points paying off right now. Also his shield. Now look, everyone's still on him. They got 3 people on the Reinhardt, so it's a 3v1 disparity. It's a 3v1 back here, and what does that mean? That means that these 3 over here are having a 3v1 as well. The 3 crushed this. It was, I believe they killed the Genji. So the 3v1, since it was against a DPS with low health, just crushed the one. The one over here on the offensive, let me change this so it looks better. 3v1 here, the one here was a tank. It was a Reinhardt. So it took him longer. What does this mean? This means this guy dies first, and this guy dies second. So the 3 on defense get in while they're still busy. And what happens there? Tracer was focusing the Pharah. Pharah took a lot of damage. She's at nothing. They come in, and they essentially just clean it up. They were on the wrong side of the choke point. And this is one thing that we need to know about the dive comp, is that because it's a dive comp, 2 people die immediately, right? 2 died here, 2 died here. What this does is it staggers spawn rates. And the reason that this is important is that you'll see the announcers and they're like, oh, if you're trading, that favors the offense because they get back to fight soon, right? They're going to get the time to take from here, from spawn in here, is a lot shorter than it is the other way. But the problem is that since 2 people died at first, and then what happened was before these 2 can get back to combat, the other 4 die. What this does is now you don't have to worry about the respawn advantage because 4 people are still dead while your team is still coming here. Right? The 2 people have to wait. They can't just re-engage in battle right away. It's because of this, the dive comp like kills 2 people. Like they kill a chunk of people off. It waits 10 seconds and then kills another 10 people. At least with dive comp versus dive comp, because you have to traverse this distance from dive to dive. This actually works better for defense than offense. Just because offense can't abuse the spawn advantage.
Is going to equalize. Saipe actually put in a ton of.
Yep. So this is the Reinhardt advantage that happened right there. Oh, hold on. Sorry, had a cough.
One of the questions I would have on this defense though is who's going to be
right there. What that entire trade came down to was defense had a Reinhardt, took longer to kill, so they got stuck back here longer than they should have.
Blow that should very likely be Jesus.
And now we're on to the second push.
LG, they weren't able to regroup.
Now this is one of I always assumed this was an answer to a dive comp, which is great. So all right, we paused just at the right time. Here we have, and this is when I talk about logistics. We have Tracer here, Winston here, Genji here. So it looks like this. The Tracer was here, the Winston was here, Genji was here. The defense skipped everyone, and they went straight for the squishies. And this is attacking by logistics. If we look at my model for like information leads to logistics leads to positioning, as soon as all of these guys use their movement modifiers and they're spread out, the team dove. And you're like, well, Chro, they dove with just a couple, right? They can easily counter dive, right? They should be able to easily counter dive. Well, the truth is this is fucking brilliant. Watch this. So they dive on them. All right, that's 3 dive. But watch this. What? Oh, what is this? What is this? These are the 2 supports. This is brilliant because it's a full dive. Right? So everyone that went over here or was thinking about going over here, like, yeah, we'll get the supports. Bullshit. Supports rotated in. They committed with all 6. I wouldn't even consider this a dive at this point. This is just a rotation. This was a full, all-encompassing rotation. So instead of leaving your 2 supports here to get with a trade, which, you know, that's a bit of a coin flip. If you trade supports and whatnot. They rotated with all 6. And whether they know it or not, this is brilliant to do against a dive comp. So they dove with all 6. They split off into favorable matchups. So after they got the support, the Winston went towards the Genji. They just cleaned up the other supports. And now look, the team that dove, they got 1 person. But because of the dive comp, 2 people are dead, so they're staggered, and now these other 4, they're gonna die just now. So it gives this one person, it gives this Ana time to get back.
People to chase down those kills. Now, traditionally, we think of that as perhaps Tracer's role. That's why G's on that. But Winston is.
So that was I love that. I extremely enjoy the fact that they just rotated all 6, even the supports.
Waiting for the flank. He just wants to blink forward and stick the pulse bomb on anything that moves.
So here we go. We got some shenanigans, and then the shenanigans get caught out.
No, he takes a rocket right to the face.
That's just good situational awareness.
Not going to happen. Will get healed up though.
Timing's overrated.
So let's see what happened with this. So, oh,
as we see here.
so this time they solved this a different way. So instead of diving with 6, let me get my picture. Instead of diving with all 6 like they did last time, what they did now is that they dove with the Tracer and the Winston. And now you're like, well, the dive comp has now caught on to their shenanigans, right? Luminosity figured this shit out. They're like, all right, we're not gonna deal with this shit anymore. Pow, 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 pow. You dive us. We're gonna cancel our dive. We're gonna put 6 people on your dive comp, eliminate them as quick as possible, you know, and then we're gonna kill your other 4. Well, they committed with less. Why? There's one. We just saw Tracer miss her ult. Now Winston's doing his thing, and Winston.
My genius is finally
So
recognized.
check this shit out. What happened here was that, unknowingly, while the dive comp was happening,
Timing's overrated.
I believe this is how it was. The defense dove. But they dove in a baity manner. They dove with 2. And so, since the offense is keen to this, they're keen to the dive because it happened twice. This is the 3rd push. They're like, oh, well, if you're just going to dive us, then we're just going to not dive you and kill you. Well, the problem is they bridge this distance, or this this gap in damage with ultimates. With the 2 ultimates, they killed one, and then Winston popped his ult, and he kills the other. While this is all happening, this is when Reinhardt literally, he'll charge in, and then he occupies everyone else's time while the guys are doing damage. So there's the 2 supports dead. Let me try to back up. You can only see it for a split second. You can see the Reinhardt charge in. Come on, you. Please. So there's the Tracer and the Winston engaging. There is the Reinhardt's Fire Blast. And then you're going to see it for a split second. The Reinhardt's right here. And so he is occupying these guys while their Winston kills everyone. Reinhardt dies, but Pharah takes out Pharah, and now it's just a cleanup. Because the deaths happened so far at the end here, right, they're just going to buy time for the Reinhardt to get back to battle. So that's like the 3rd way they try to solve Diver's Dive in a different and unique way. Now we're going to look at the 4th push. And this is this is when we start. Before a couple of reviews ago, I talked about I liked how one of my viewers they did a Roadhog ult like 3 different ways. So they just had a Roadhog and used an ult 3 different ways. And I was like, look, one of these ways didn't work too well, but this way worked and this way worked. But I enjoyed your lateral thinking. Like that type of thinking is really good. Because you're essentially doing mix-ups, if I can steal that word from the fighting game community. You're doing one thing in multiple ways. Which is why I want to highlight this dive comp, because this defense is going dive v dive, but they solved it in 3 pushes. They solved it 3 different ways. Now we're going to look at the 4th push. Right? 4th push, dive versus dive comp. What happens? They fucking call their bluff. The dive comp didn't dive. What happens? This Reinhardt? This is beautiful. Okay. So what happened here was the Winston dove. Offensive Winston dove in here, put down a bubble. The defensive Winston goes, alright, because this bubble essentially stops the defensive Reinhardt from communicating with the supports back here. or the vice versa. So Ana can't heal this Reinhardt because this bubble's in the way. Well, their Winston says, "Oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm calling your fucking bluff." And what they do is they ult their own Winston, and because the gun goes through Winston shield, friend or foes. What this does is it separated their Winston. No! Undo! Oh, that was scary. Thank God for undo. Ana was back here. Now, this blue bubble was stopped by Winston, right? The arena, he's like, Winston's like, hey man, one guy in, one guy's coming out. Well, their other Winston's like, well, fuck, here's a bubble. We know which guy's coming out now. So what happens is he gets nano boosted. And we can see in the kill feed that the entire 5 or 4 focused on the Winston back here. And while the dive was still in process, this Reinhardt, I need blue. This Reinhardt ulted here. And what that did was this Winston was 100% for sure dead. Not because he was dead, but because Reinhardt split the dive in half. Right? So the dive comp, usually you dive with 3. And what this does is it buys your team that are the slower ones time to get into battle. So these 3 dive, they try to get 1 pick off, and while everyone's busy with these 3 come into battle, and that they support them from longer range. Well, what happened is these 3 engaged, let's say, and then this Reinhardt ulted these 3. It doesn't matter if they kill him or not, but it just stops the dive, more or less. I guess the dive part still happens, but the follow-up isn't there, so it kind of kills the push. So Reinhardt killed the push here. And then the Pharah, that's not a P, that's an R. A Pharah, that's a fucking R again. A Pharah just rocked him, as we'll see here. So if we go back 5 seconds, we'll have to look up at the kill feed. So like, did you see the Ana try to support that Winston? She ulted him, but couldn't do anything else. Reinhardt ults. Pharah ults in the background. She kills the 2 people on the ground. They get counter-ulted on by a Pharah, but at this point, it's a little bit too late. Well, it wasn't too late. It was a 3v3. It could have been even, but the Lucio ulted to give his team the advantage, and then they just clean up. So to me, it's fucking brilliant to counter the dive comp with the dive comp and dive their team 3 times in a row, and on the 4th time, you stay still, and you're just like, yeah, let's do it. We're going to call your bluff. Anyone who dives, we're going to kill immediately. So here we go, 5th push. And this one... Alright. So... he gets 1v1, and that's like really unfortunate. Sorry, another burp. But not only did he get 1v1'd, look at the plan they already had in store for this fucker. Bubble to separate the Genji from everyone else. Right? He's going to get no support, and they had a Winston, an Ana, and a Lucio just for that. Not only that, but Genji did a double dash. The rare and elusive double dash. He went from here to here to here to here. Very few characters can keep up with that. The Winston attempted to follow him in and only got to here. He got halfway in. And then he got clobbered by a Reinhardt, as we're going to see. Yeah. And right there, this is what Bubble does. This Ana can't do shit for anyone. The Tracer goes 1v1 against the Reaper. The other team, I believe it was the Reinhardt and I think it was the Winston, went after the Winston. And then the Lucio and the Ana dealt with the Genji. And this bubble separated this battlefield right here. No one was helping anyone past this point. The Tracer, the defensive Tracer was taking on the offensive Reaper. The Reinhardt and the Winston were attacking. No! I can't undo that. God damn it. I gotta get used to this. Reaper. Oh, that's a line. That's text. Oh, I can do text. Sweet. This matchup happened. Reinhardt and Winston Let me hit R. There we go. Took out the enemy Winston. While the Lucio and Ana took out the Genji. Essentially, the Genji dove super far to the point where none of his team can support him. It was under the guise that he was going to be able to kill everyone. Ana has a couple things to say about that. The first one, which is fuck no. And he kind of bit it. Because he used his dash not as a finisher, but as a movement modifier, he had to hit 2 swipes really quick, which didn't happen. Like I said, the Ana and Lucio were back here for offense. They didn't really accomplish too much because the battle was so segmented. I believe the Pharah and Pharah... The theme of this match is Pharah and Pharah are just constantly killing each other. So what they did is they separated combat with a bubble. They took a 2v1 here. They took a 2v1 here. 1v1 in the air. And then a 1v1 on the other side. An individual skill won these. That I can say. That I can't see the actual fight what happened. You'll see the Tracer takes out the Reaper.
Takes down Ube. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
there's the Lucio, not doing much. As you can see, the whole team dies. We get there. So that was really good plays by Ana. Like a lesser Ana would have died, and it would have been a completely different game. But at the same time, strategically, like, yeah, Genji should have won, but there's a lot of shoulda, woulda, couldas, and that's not what happened. That's not the reality of it. So you got to deal with the reality of it. Now, at this point, this is when we see the big change. Right? They pull out a Soldier, they pull out a Hog, they pull out a Reinhardt.
And it's not necessarily typical, but it has been working out here.
So they realize the dive comp doesn't really work. Now they get dove on, but the Soldier... So the Soldier was way back here when he died, but it took a little bit too long. The Soldier was over here, and since he's a longer range class compared to any of the dive comp, Genji, Tracer, Winston, he actually got damage on, and you can see right here, he got the Reinhardt. The Roadhog gets a really good pick with the Ana. Not much to say about that one. Like, you get hooked, you die. So they get a good one. Like, they try to dive on it. They get 2 out of the dive, but now there's so much beef on the field. Pharah's kind of not that good against sustain and heavy, beefy targets. She shoots every 1 second, has 120 damage every 1 second, and there's travel time, and it takes a bit. So she gets outed by the Soldier. And I said this before, let me just back up a little bit. Essentially what they do is they bridge the unit, or the disadvantage of 2v2. So they lost 2 here, these guys lost 2 here. These guys died first, and more importantly, they did not die in overtime. The offensive members did die in overtime, so they get a longer spawn. But what they do to bridge this gap, right there, they Lucio ult. Now this Lucio ult keeps all these high hit point targets alive even longer, and it bridges the time gap to get back into combat. So now, yep. Now look, now the Soldier kills her. People got back. They couldn't put as much damage as they wanted to on the targets. Also, I believe this is a really good exploitation of, if we just look at the team, if we go back another couple seconds, if we look at what happened when it died, when they traded 2v2, you'll see a big issue with this comp. Come on, YouTube. All right, so check this out. Tank, DPS, and then they got a healer. DPS, but I consider Pharah a little bit slow. She does 120 damage. Projectiles take time to get there. If she doesn't do a direct hit, she does like 80 damage, which is really good because Lucio can bust it off. Like, he can heal that pretty quickly. Tracer, good DPS. Winston, that's a little bit poor, and more importantly, he's at 0% ult. He's ulting right now, so he does pretty bad damage. Maybe he does good damage like against 200 hit point heroes, but the 200 hit point heroes on this team are rather elusive. Also, they have healing and like abilities to dodge. And then Lucio. So what we have here is no damage, good damage, no damage, and limited damage. What does this team have? Roadhog, huge sustain. Lucio, sustain even more. Tracer, bit of sustain. Reinhardt, beefy. If you want to hurt him, it's gonna take it's annoying as shit to hurt Reinhardt, right? Because he has a shield. So once Lucio ults here, they don't got shit. Like they're trying. Look at this. They're like, all right. I mean, maybe 300-400 damage has been done at this point. They're not getting through that beef. So this was a really good exploitation of what I would consider somewhat of a low damage comp. I mean, Winston's, they're good on dives and they're good at hitting 200 hit point heroes, but when all you have are tanks and a couple of very elusive targets, the dive comp, it becomes less strong. It's still good, it can still work, but it's a little less strong.
To get more respawns in and take that cleanly, they went out, they lost their front line.
So they get the point.
So LG is going to be able to stay alive.
And then this, I'm not too interested in after this part. I was really hyped about this first point defense. I really liked how. Just to sum it up, we're gonna. I mean, we'll just finish this up. This doesn't take too long. It takes about 2 minutes and 3 seconds. That's just a guess, though. They got an annoying little Tracer in the back line. They get Reinhardt ulted.
Aiming's overrated.
After the Reinhardt ult, Pharaoh was above him. Took advantage of it. Nothing spectacular, just a good ult.
To push up heavily on this defense.
Who needs justice when you have the fist of justice right there as Mangachu finishes the kill with a punch. You don't see Pharah's melee very often, so it's always nice.
The Pharah's waiting up here. Like I said, I consider this a flank. It's a vertical flank, but it's still a flank. Right? The building's hiding her presence. And I think this is a bit of an overcommitment. It wasn't bad, but because offense chooses when they attack and when they don't, it's one of the natural, let's just say, rights offensive members have, is they can choose when to attack and when not to. They have the ability to back up. Defense can back up. Whenever they do, they lose ground, right? You just give them space, which is bad. Giving space to offense is, you know, backing up for offense, giving the space to defense, I mean, isn't terrible, but if you can back up and avoid 2 ults, then fuck yeah, do it. So they exploit that. They go, alright, you ulted to kill 2 of our tanks, you know, whoopsie fucking do. We're coming back. And on the way back, they attack during their weak phase when they're logistically trying to reset up. They lose a couple, which causes them to lose a couple more. Now they have to reset up at this second point. Tries to get a good hammer. Only hit one person. The one person didn't die. And then, yeah, wombo combo. You know, good luck. And this is a cleanup basically till the finish.
The pulse bomb set up by that graviton, and now it's looking like Renegades will be stopping LG.
And at this point, there's nothing too interesting, right? They just stagger the Ana. So we're gonna skip ahead and watch what happens next. And to recap, this is a good backdrop. No, this is a good backdrop. So just to recap, the defense. First push, they dove, like they traded. One team dove, the other team dove. But the tank advantage is what happened. Because of the Reinhardt, it took them too long to kill the three guys here took too long to kill the one Reinhardt. While on this side, the 3 guys against the 1 Genji got destroyed. And then they rotated in, killed them while they were busy. Reinhardt died, but by then it was just too late. The second push happened again, but this time the defense rotated all 6. This is a terrible 6. While they just rotated 2. They called their bluff. It was they did an overcommitment. I don't say overcommitment. That's a bad way to say it. They rotated. Rotated team. That's how you spell team now. So this is the second way they solved it. The third way is they rotated 2 or what was going to be the 2, but they actually called their bluff on this one. Red came back. It was actually a fake dive. Hold on. Fake dive would be this way. Up, up. No, I was right. Because blue wants to dive this way. Red wants to dive this way. But this time they canceled it and they came back to support the dive. What happened is they bridged with alts, which is really cool. They dove less, and because they dove less, the offensive team's like, oh fuck, they only dove 2 guy. We can easily kill the 2 off really quick and be done with it. Problem was, it was a Tracer and it was a Winston, meaning A, Tracer can just get the fuck out of anything she wants with recall. 2, Winston, he can just ult, and that's what happened. They burned their alts, and they got two picks for basically free. Free, not 3. The fourth push, this is where I find it the funniest, is because they dove nothing. They switched up everything, and they're like, yeah, nope, we're not diving at all. They dove with, I believe, 2 or 3, but they immediately eliminated the Winston, and then they just cleaned up from there. They separated the battlefield into 2 at this choke point. The fifth push, I don't want to consider it completely a strategical mistake, but when the Genji overdove, we need a 5. 5. I ran out of room. Sorry, guys. The Genji overdove, which is fine if you can secure a safe spot in the back, right? If he can secure a space back here, that's great. He couldn't. He got 1v1. And then they also did it again where the Reinhardt was here with a shield and the Winston dropped a bubble here. They split the dive comp. So the supports were here. The Ana, if I remember correctly, the Ana was here. The Lucio was fucking being a spider monkey in the corner. And then there was a Pharah versus Pharah battle right here. Because of the wall and that supports couldn't support what was getting done. The Pharahs kind of neutralized each other. The 2v1 against the Lucio Ana versus Genji, which is basically just Ana whooped his ass. And then the Reinhardt and Winston killed the enemy Winston. So again, this was kind of akin to the fourth one, where they just they split the battle. They split the dive comp. So those are like 4 or 5 different ways that they dealt with a dive comp as a dive comp, which we can extract some really cool things from. Even if you're not running a dive comp, if you're going against one, what they did for... Let me get a different color. This, 4, 2, and 5. These are all things any composition can do. Right? If someone tries to dive you, you can immediately rotate on the other team with all 6. That's something any team can do. You don't need a dive comp to do that. It helps if you have high mobility people on your team, but you can definitely rotate all 6 when they try to rotate 2 at the exact same time. Essentially, you evade the 2, and you take a 6v4 advantage super quick. You try to get 1 or 2 picks before the 2 come back and realize what's up, and then you get, before a full 6v6, right? You want to try to get a numbers advantage with this quick rotation on them. Yeah, 1 and 3, these are a bit specific to dive comp. Because they dove on their supports when their supports got dove on, and then they used that 1 tank advantage instead of the DPS. Right, that's a bit specific to the composition. And this, they dove again too. Whenever this dive happens with 2, that's specific to dive comp. So this was... I thought it was super cool. Super cool. And now we're going to see it the other way.
Aiming's overrated.
Good hit scan player.
So what do we see here? A more traditional composition. We see another dive comp on this side. The big note to make, Zenyatta, instead of Ana. But this is divey, somewhat divey, especially on this map because she can float up here, right? She can evade sight by being so far above this building. This essentially makes it a flank. So it seems a little divey against what is traditionally 3 tank. This is 3-2-1. Quite traditional. We say traditional. It's like 2 months old. Is fucking quote unquote traditional.
Not even an Ana here. He might get the orb, but that is a little lesser amount of healing than an Ana or a Mercy would. We will see this a very damage-oriented offense coming out for Renegades.
Oh my goodness, Jesus getting taken down.
So
Really pushing, not what he's looking for, but Icefeld under
Pharah can't capitalize on her advantage, but too many people are going to focus on that. Let's go back. We're going to take our time. Yeah, we're all gonna, including YouTube, going to take our time. So before anything even happens, before this Pharah gets to where she wants to be, Tracer's already dead. Right before Pharah even uses her concussive blast to get into battle quicker, the soldier was up here. The Tracer was over here. And because it's a narrow corridor, the Tracer got beat. So this is when the soldier, soldier left to go up here. And he kind of gets away with murder. During this time, Roadhog hooks Winston. 2 people are of the dive comp are dead. This push is basically over. This is because I would consider this lack of practice. And I don't mean to like shit talk a team. I'm not really shit talking them. But the Tracer committed here first. The Pharah committed here second. I'm not sure where the Winston got caught. I would like to see when the Winston dove in. If he got caught during the dive or he dove and then got hooked. But what happened was, even if the Winston went at the same time as Pharah, it's still, a dive comp needs to happen all at once. It needs to be all at once. If it comes in different notes like this, like different time measures, that they're going to pick apart whatever pokes its head out first, like the Tracer, and then the rest of your push is a bit weaker. Since you commit so much with a dive, if you lose part of your dive comp, it almost always all dies. So Eisenfeld, dude, this guy's doing God's work. He's holding the high ground. He's doing what he needs to. He's forcing... There's that Tracer again. I don't know if you guys saw this, but this is exactly what happened last time. Oh, shit. I didn't control R. God damn it. What was my timestamp? Instead of just hitting R to get my red pen out,
gone another way, but really when Jesus went down that early,
I refreshed everything.
Quiet so far, but I think that will.
Oh man. Alright, this should be where we're at. I know, guys, unprofessional.
a lot more than his.
This is the first push. We talked about the first push.
But that is a little lesser amount of
Didn't happen all at once. See the Tracer? She just committed over there. Got killed. Now the Winston comes in. Now the Pharah comes in. That's great. Actually, it's really good that we had to look at it again. You see how it happened in 3 different parts? It went Tracer, Genji, or Tracer, Winston, Pharah. It all needs to happen at once. It just needs to be blah! Right? That has to be a dive comp.
simply not hitting the rocket that he needed to. If that's
So that actually, this refresh, we're capitalizing on our mistakes. Yeah, don't flim-flam. It needs to happen all at once. But again, here's that fucking Tracer. You can see her right there, and watch this. Oh, there we go. That's how we get red. Tracer's right here. She's gonna probably try to compete with the high ground again.
He obviously knew that ISO was going to be up in that corner. Look at that. Mangachu wants the window back regardless. Offense, defense.
So, what happened here was he heard the Pharah coming. He knew the Tracer was coming. A 2v1. First of all, a 1v1 in that little area is pretty shit for him. So he immediately yielded. He came back down. He forces them to come through a choke point, which is the window. Now they got a numbers advantage. Winston gets hooked again and gets killed. And look, you can see what happened with this dive comp. Is that, look, there's a Genji here, a Lucio's over here. I'm assuming the Zen is over here as well. While the Pharah and the Tracer was here, and the Winston was bridging the gap between the three. They killed the Winston, and then they put a wall up. And this separates the supports and the Genji from the Tracer and Pharah back here. Pharah got her ass kicked, but now it's a Tracer that's behind enemy lines that's... yeah, gets killed.
Well, Saipe has been rather quiet so far, but I think that will...
So I think that's a really smart way and a very direct way of dealing with the dive comp. And it all started because the soldier yielded up here. This is smart on the soldier's part. The soldier left this way as soon as he felt just a hint of pressure. I think Tracer was back here, and the Pharah was over here. But he immediately ran. They both chased out this choke point, and he immediately just took out the Pharah very, very quickly. So because of this over-rotation, or this over-commitment on this side, the defense simply just put more this way. Right? And then they forced the enemy team, the two, to come through the choke point, and they created a numbers disadvantage that way, while separating the dive from the rest of the team. So, I mean, overall, it was really good. That's pretty much the traditional way I think you want to handle dealing with the dive comp.
We're going to see Renegades take another look at this. Saipe does have the Dragon Blade up and at the ready.
The Tracer, there she is again. Again, they go up top. What happens this time? Genji gets killed en route. This leaves a Pharah Tracer in the back, which they know. Again, it's going to be hard to see this, guys, but you can see the hurt soldier. Oh, right there. All right, so this soldier right here is hurt because of the Pharah Tracer. But again, they're coming out of this choke point while their Genji died right here. Winston comes in again. As he dives, this is terrible. Like, everyone just killed him. The soldier 1v1 the Pharah. Really good. Now it's just the Tracer doing annoying shit. But it doesn't matter. At this point, the numbers disadvantage is too great. Tanks pushing the supports out, while everyone else just deals with this annoying little bitch.
Continue to impress me across the board. We've seen 4 of them tonight, and we've seen 4 spectacular defenses, self-defense class Anna in full sessions right now. Magnitude.
Again, here it comes again. Everyone, this is a good dive comp. Now, or this is a good dive. The Pharah's on her, the Genji's ulting, everything's happening. Everyone ults at the same time, including the defensive Lucio ult. Soldier ulted there, Roadhog ulted. The Lucio ult bridged all the damage the enemy team was pushing out, and then all the defensive ults killed everyone. So that was just a good ult usage on the defensive side. There's not much to say about that. Yeah, they just got shut down with one Lucio ult shuts all those guys down. So they do a change. They lose the Genji, they lose the Winston. Now they're running 2 more tanks. Or 2 more tanks. What happened? I don't know if Eisenfeld in general or anyone recognized this, but when they killed the Genji and the Winston, they lost all vertical mobility. And we're going to see what happens when you don't have a vertical mobile hero and they have a soldier on the high ground. This is probably the most underrated move in the entire series. Zarya balls deep in here, forces out a Zen ult. At the same time, their Lucio ults for whatever reason. He came out of nowhere. Like, they airdropped his fucking ass into ult. 2 support ults gets put down, spree ults to keep them all over there. He just nullified 2 defensive ults with a Zarya ult, which some people would say is not a good idea, but I think that's a really, like, underappreciated move. So now comes, this is more like what we see in Overwatch right now. It's just like, Reinhardt's on the point, Tank's on the point, people are just punching people, let's see who does what better. But remember what we just mentioned? We forgot about a soldier on the high ground. Soldier killed the Roadhog, Tracer got the Tracer. Soldier's putting damage on this Reinhardt from behind, and look, an unchecked soldier just took down all 3 tanks, more or less. They forgot that their class switch negate didn't have any vertical mobility, and Soldier shut them down. That's what that Tracer was trying to do beforehand, and what she was doing to good effect. So is the Pharah. They were both putting enough pressure on the Soldier to do that, but now they don't have that. Here we go with a quick rotation through the house. I lose the correct move. Reinhardt misses his ult. Soldier, more or less, it's a little bit of a missed ult. But because of Reinhardt's missed ult, they ult. Reinhardt finally uses his ult. There's no Reinhardt to block it. He stops 2 people from doing damage, right? There's 2 people on the ground. 1, 2. The damage that could have been done gets negated by Lucio ult as well. And now they just kind of clean up with Zarya's ult. So it was really cool to stun part of the team, use Lucio defensive ult to bridge the damage, right? While the Zarya ult was going on. That let them survive, which allowed them to put the damage on. After all ults were said and done, Spree had a second ult. He ulted and got the kill.
In the day where we were very impressed with how Complexity had a very good defense, and yet
yeah, that was.
And we have more of the same here. Where Renegades.
What I wanted to take away from this game was how to deal with the dive comps and what to do as a dive comp itself. Yeah, it was really well done. I think on both teams' parts. Just one team had, you know, a little bit better of a strategy. That Soldier, I really like that Soldier on defense. It lasted against the dive comp, but more importantly, when the dive comp changed and they lost all vertical mobility, that Soldier did so much goddamn work. Before we go to the next game, were there any questions? I haven't been looking at chat much. I apologize.
Aiming's overrated.
You said in the Master Guide I have 20 years of experience in FPS games. How old am I? 31.
Aiming's overrated.
I'm old. The stream's been going on, I can tell you exactly, an hour and 2 minutes and 31 seconds. Is my mouse pad a piece of wood? Yes, it is. It's Chro the Junk Man. I am, but I do analysis too.
Aiming's overrated.
All right, are there any questions specifically about the game that I reviewed, or at least that first round, before I go out to the next game? I mean, we're going to review the whole series of these 2 teams playing, but that first one is what I loved. That first one was, as far as strategery goes, I think that's some of the best strategic gameplay I've seen in a long time, and I don't know if they consciously did all those things or did not. What is the dive strat? The dive strat is where you pull classes, mainly Genji, Tracer, Winston, team heroes with high mobility, and you throw these heroes into the enemy's formation. What the object is to... let's talk about this. Hold on. We gotta set up. So what is the dive comp? A dive comp normally consists of Winston, Genji, Tracer. And what they do is, one of the natural advantages of being on defense is that I get to set up how I wish. Let me use blue just to make everything color coordinated. Like, I want a Reinhardt here. I want my 2 supports here. I want a Soldier on the high ground. I want a Pharah flying around. I want my off tank right about here. This is what I believe, and I don't mean I. Like, whoever runs this believes this is the best way to set up their team. Now, the offense, they have to deal with this shit. Before the terrain advantage of high ground, before the choke point advantage, before all of this, one of the advantages that every defensive team has on every single map is that they get to set up how they want to. So they have to essentially navigate this formational disadvantage at first. One way to do this is you take 3 people, mainly these 3, who have some survivability, some hit points, and all have mobility, and you just kind of throw them right here. You're just like, yeah, I'm just gonna fuck your shit up. And your hope is to take one guy out, and which allows your team, your other 3 players, to get from back here with no mobility to get into battle. That's usually the goal. The big point is to break formation and kill one guy. I believe it's to take a numbers advantage is my take on the dive comp. How would the dive comp win in that game, especially against that soldier? Let me try to think how their composition was set up. So what I forget who it was. They ran a soldier up here. Their supports were back here. The Reinhardt was here. The Roadhog was the bridge. And then the Pharah, they didn't run a Pharah. What did they run? Oh, they ran a 3rd tank. They ran a Zarya. So they were doing the right thing, I believe, at first, and forcing this soldier off the high ground. I think that was the right thing to do, but the problem is that they were overzealous and they kept on following them, and they're like, we're going to do a full flank. But I believe this team was ready for a full flank, especially with 3 tanks. Essentially, when the 2 kept on flanking in, the Winston kept on diving, but the Winston kept on getting hooked or just outright killed by the entire team. I think what they could have done is not done this.
Timing's overrated.
They could have pushed everyone off the high ground and then engaged this way. And engaged with their team. I probably wouldn't even ran a Winston. I would have used the Pharah Tracer to bully the soldier to give yourself better positioning, and then use the high ground here along with your team coming this way to really make them pay for being in this small area. Once you have pressure on someone, then the Tracer can flank around. Then the Tracer could have flanked around. You don't want to flank around someone if there's no pressure being applied to them. So if this is someone, like if we consider this 6 heroes, if you have just your entire, like you have 5 heroes here and they have 6 heroes here, with your Tracer, you don't want to just flank and attack. This will get you killed. What you want to do is you want your team to just slightly put pressure right here, and then you want to flank, because then everyone's attention is this way, right? They have to actively deflect this attack that whatever these 5 guys are doing. They have to deal with that shit, and while they're dealing with it, that's when you attack. Don't just attack people when they're fine, right? Like I said, the formation advantage is the first thing defense gets. Don't just don't just 1v6 when they have the formational advantage. You're going to lose. Could Junkrat be part of the dive comp? Yes. Actually, Junkrat, you wouldn't actually use mobility part on Junkrat's part. When all this shit is going on, Junkrat stays here and shells this. He just takes out this area that they're stuck in. That's how I would use Junkrat if I had to, but yeah, that's like a basic thing about the dive comp. They didn't have Zarya to bubble to Winston? No, they did not. No, they didn't run that. If we look back. It actually, they ran on attack, they ran a Zenyatta, which I don't like, because, I mean, they were up against 3 tanks, so Zenyatta does have some purpose, but I believe Ana's skill set is superior. They run Ana at the end, and the thing is I didn't tell you guys this, but after Spree baited out both support alts, the Zen changed to Ana, and the Lucio never gets an ult again in the game, and neither does the Ana. They wasted... That's why I see that one ult that Spree did as incredibly important and smart, is that he essentially baited out all the ults for the rest of the game for supports. It was completely underrated. Even the announcers, they're just like, Spree's an ult, but didn't get anything from it, you know. That's probably a mistake. And I was like, no, 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 no. He baited out 2 ults, and they never ulted again in the game. That's fucking big. Junkrat defend against dive? Yes. It comes down to remote mine. Winston, you can actually stuff him. You can stop his mobility arc. If you hit a Genji, Genji has no... He can deflect mine, but you can detonate it, so it always hurts him. And if you ever hit a Tracer with anything, she has to use recall. So you have to deal damage right away. If you miss any of your abilities, Junkrat will immediately die to the dive comp. It's a very finesse-based thing. And I know to the normal players, it seems like a risk, like because he's not consistent. That's why people don't want to run him. It's just, yeah, it's cool if it works once, but look at this game. They got pushed on 6 times. If you fail one of those times, they get the point. So you just got to be really good. So before we go into the next game, one last time, any questions? Yeah, Bottage, I was in that game with Kepri bot versus Kepri. Also, people want to say how I see position as the most important thing in a game, and I don't really care about mechanical ability. Mechanical ability like aiming comes in time, and being good at it is really important. But the reason why Kepri beat that bot was because he had better game sense and positioning. Because when you're against a bot, you can't win versus mechanical skill. Tana Gamer, how's my day been? My day's been good. Did I see the questions about hammers? No. Is it a stupid question? Am I looking back for a stupid question? What am I looking for, people? Alright, we're skipping the question about hammers. So, let's go to Hanamura. Hanamura, let me open up my Hanamura notes. Did I even take notes? No. Like I said, what I really wanted from this entire series was that first point, or that first match on King's Row. The dive versus dive was awesome. So here we have Hanamura, defense running Torb.
Timing's overrated.
And if we look at the attacking team, if they stick to these heroes, holy shit. I like this comp because Hanamura choke point is notoriously bad. And I like how they're just, with this comp, they're avoiding it completely, right? Tracer can get through the choke point, Lucio can get through it, Pharah just goes above it, Genji goes above it, Widow gets above it. What they're trying to do here is they're ignoring the choke. They're going to put some people in the back, and while people are busy with all their flanks being attacked, the sniper, the Widow comes in and starts cleaning up while everyone's busy.
Jesus looking for the happy little pick. Will get the headshot on the Roadhog. Not a kill early on. Still looking for it, and he's hunting for Ice Belt. This is a matchup.
So their formation still hasn't been broken yet.
But he's going to have to land the shots as he is getting chased back to start things out here. But
now it's starting to break. Now you see how the defense has to get back on point. They have to start pulling in what I would call limbs. They have to pull their limbs in from each flank and bring it to the point, because if a limb is left out there, it's going to get broken. But they pull back to the point, they get some picks, they get some kills. But Widow gets a kill, and you know, we start seeing it go the other way. And now, with the spawn disadvantage defense has, they start pressing while they're low on numbers. And this is where Widow really does well. When everyone's busy on point, she just comes and starts cleaning up. So yeah, they lost 2 more, and then everyone just suicide so they can set up properly on the last point. I love this type of attack. I know it seems insane with, what, 4 DPS and 2 support? But the idea is to use... All these DPS are very specifically ran to negate a choke point. Or to get through it, I should say. So this... Okay, what happens there, Farah does an ult. She tries to get killed, or kills. I'm just going to pause it for a second. This is something that's underrated with Farah's ult. Everyone believes it's shit. But Farah is one of... There's 2 ults in the game that do this. There's 2 ults. One is Farah. And the other is Reaper. Reaper. Fuck it. And what these 2 ults do is they have what I call a 0 point damage. Meaning it takes 0 time for them to do damage with their ults. Every other ult in the game has some type of warm-up or like 1 to 2 seconds something has to happen and then it happens. McCree's ult has to charge up. Like hammer down still has the hammer down thing and it's very visible. Lucio ult, you know, break it down. Genji, he has to unsheath the sword, yada yada yada. Everyone has this. Pharah and Reaper, as soon as they press the button, damage starts getting done. And this allows you to get a pick instantly. It allows you to kill someone quicker than any other ult in the game. Which I find is very underrated in the community. Everyone believes these ults suck, but you have to abuse the fact that you have to stop bitching about things at some point in time and start using what they do. And that 0 point damage is a very big point that you have to abuse as these classes. Yeah, just stop bitching that the ult sucks and start using it right.
The point though, Hex, because respawns will be coming in soon. And oh, what a shot! What another shot! Jesus, going off.
That's his name. That's not an expletive just to describe how great that was. Mangachu is going to...
So this is the Bastion pick. I do like it. This is just like a Widow or a Soldier on this balcony, like above them. Is that while everyone has to jump on point, you just kill them. You take advantage of the fact that they don't have the luxury of looking at something.
Reinhardt shield early on. This is some serious momentum coming in from Renegades. They have 2 ticks, Hex, here, and now
Now the problem here is that Mangachu actually blinds himself. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but he blinded himself. This is Sun Tzu type shit too. I did this against Khepri when he was against the bot match. So Mangachu goes over to the right, and what he does is he goes, look, now no one coming out of this entrance can hit me. At the same time, he can't hit anyone coming out of that entrance. I did this against Khepri when he was widowing behind a rock, and he's like, oh, I'm covered, right? Because I'm right next to a rock. Well, what I do is I use this advantage that he has where I can't hit him because of this rock from this side. I use it to blindside him. Because he can't see me coming. Use someone's advantage as a disadvantage to him. That's pretty much the strongest thing you can do in any combat type situation. So this happens to Bastion. He's like, I'm going to just screw up the whole left side of the point. I'm not going to care about the right side of the point. Problem was, right side of the point had an ulted soldier.
Picks up 4, and he will be the savior of LG on this point, where things were looking like they could have ended pretty abruptly there, but still 2 ticks that early, Hex. Not
the soldier's going to his spot, this balcony. Holding this balcony is the
right there to bring it back with
most important thing you can do as a hit scan.
Switch from Mangachu to try to bring it back, but Jesus, there's no reason to get off of this Widow. He has proven extremely effective to it, and when the biggest problem for you has been a 76, there's really no better counter than a good...
Also, one thing I don't do is I don't, when I analyze what teams run and what they do, I usually don't say, oh, they need to run X or Y here to do X or Y. I like working with what tools people give me, and I'll just comment it based on that. I'm not going to tell them to run something else, or something would be stronger here. So it's hard to see what happened just because of fucking spectator mode. But the defense, they're getting some kills. I couldn't tell what the Genji got out of that ult. I couldn't tell if he zoned anyone or what happened there, but Widow's trying to put damage here. She gets bullied out. You know, she did what you could.
When you do have momentum, how scary is the Widow here on this ledge where you're down people, you can't really chase it, and she's still dominating sightline.
It's terrifying to even leave spawn, especially because they don't necessarily, when you're trying to get to a point when it's a stall-out chaotic situation, you can't leave spawn behind your Reinhardt every time, so you're just running out.
The soldier, Eisenfeld's a really good soldier.
Eisfeld does take down Saipe though with a really nice Helix rocket, and they've gotten decent positioning back on this.
Yeah, so he wins the one-on-one battle. This Genji's looking for one-on-ones, or he's looking for some ability to flank. Basically, what they're trying to do is trying to keep this soldier off of this balcony as soon as they attack. That's the goal.
Victory at final point. When the defense has 4 ultimates, you really need a junk rush or two to soften it up.
I completely agree. Junk rush being go in, don't use ults, make sure they use ults. There are a couple ults out for the side of the defense, so far rather successful as long as the
again, soldier ults. Soldier's staying back in that one flank, which is really doing work.
Nagachu is going to use his ultimate.
Well, they do use it. Jesus is in position in or the top. He's already taken down 2, so this is an unchecked Widowmaker.
You get a couple kills, but then the defensive tracer starts doing work. Nope, never mind. She gets wrecked in the face. See how the Widow is trying to set up on the balcony? Like I said, Hitscan wants to stay on the balcony, and that Diva's putting pressure just to get her off of it. It's absolutely necessary that you do that. If you don't address the long-range issue when you're dealing with the short-range people, you're going to start losing. And then once you lose your any type of ability to bridge the distance, then you've lost the point completely.
Purest of junk rushes, meaning you just go in and try to bait them into ults. You have to use ults to bait them into ults sometimes.
Right now does have Dragon Blade up, has to back out, takes a little bit too much damage. Now,
so this, I believe, is when it happens. A lot of people, I think they would consider this ult that's coming up bad. So they take the high ground. This is perfect. This is where you want to stage it from. They're trying to harass the hit scans from the high, that balcony that I keep on telling, like, hold the balcony as defense. Hold it as hard as you can. So out of nowhere, if I remember correctly, yeah, she ults him. And he's like, alright, time to do work. Tracer gets away, Soldier gets away, everyone got away. Everyone's like, that's a useless ult. But now everyone's on point. Now that everyone's on point, their team starts doing work. All you needed was one tick, and they get it. So why do I consider that ult so good? While everyone else considers that ult probably trash. Remember that thing I said, and I keep on saying over and over like a broken goddamn record? Hitscan needs to hold the balcony. Above all else, Hitscan needs to hold it. Do whatever you can to get the Hitscan off the balcony. In this case, it's a zoning Genji ult. He pushes the Soldier back this way. Soldier's over here. The Tracer, she recalled and goes back up this way, and she comes back on point. And now that everyone's on point, and no one's using the range advantage that most of the Soldier has, they just start killing everyone on point. Like, it's so much easier when everyone's together. So that ult cleared the balcony, and that for what I care, that secured them to point. If that balcony wasn't cleared, Soldier would have ulted, and instead of getting ulted and getting killed on the low ground, he would have been up on the high ground. He probably would have killed everyone.
Giving up the point, they were able to hold off the first momentum rush, which is always hugely important, and do only give it.
Timing's overrated.
Was I top 500? I've been top 500 every season except for season 1.
They had 2 ticks off of that. So for LG coming back in that case,
I'm new. Do you always do reviews on stream or gameplay too? I usually do gameplay. I will usually do a viewer review or something at the end of the stream. But today I saw this game. Like on Monday when it happened, and I was like, "This is a really interesting game." Mainly the King's Row one, but I'll highlight points that I find interesting throughout the whole thing.
I mean, I can tell you all the positives of running a symmetric.
So let's skip ahead. Let's skip ahead, YouTube. Fucking A. Oh, whoa, whoa!
Timing's overrated.
Skipped ahead too much. Alright, so here's the first push. What do we know? First thing that stands out. Builder, Torb, more importantly, Defensive Widow.
It's kind of a very interesting combo.
Defensive Widow is very...
Molten Core and have it level 2 at the same time as well, so it looks like
It's cocky. It works. I'm not saying it's a bad pick, but man, it sure is a cocky pick. And look at this. This is a really cool strategy. Can move vertically, can move vertically, can move vertically. Tracer can go from this balcony here, so she can technically move vertically through this choke. Vertically, follow someone vertically. What do? They just bypass the choke. The entire team, they move as one, and they get this other angle. This was a really cool, real cool little strategy. Now, the Widow does the correct thing. Let's see if you can see blue on this. So, how about orange? Oh, pink kind of works. Let's just do pink over here. So here's the choke point. Like, here's the main door, and here's the window. Yeah, window. I keep on wanting to say widow, because she's a widow. When they all rotated this way, it's really smart for the Widow to rotate this way, right? Now she's here, and she has full range of view over here. The disadvantage to this is as soon as someone dies, watch your ass, because someone's coming from spawn and will kill you if you're not careful. So it's good as long as she has good situational awareness. This is 100% the correct move.
Just getting away from the main area where anyone would really want to dive, and at the very least, Hex, he'll draw someone back.
You know what's great about that turret is it lets him know where people are coming in from. It kind of gives him eyes that he doesn't have.
So they destroy the turret twice, and then they get the Torb, you know, big shock. It's hard to tell what's going on strategically, but everyone's just brawling on the main point, right?
Maybe not enough right now because really LG has been bleeding.
And this is great. This is kind of what you want as offense. And here comes the defensive Widow coming into play, right? She has the sight advantage. She sees everything that's going on. She's starting to take pot shots. But as offense, you want everyone to be forced onto the point, so you make your life easier, right? It's easier to kill everyone when they're in one spot. You don't have to worry about any kind of shenanigans. But as long as they keep getting trades, it works for them because they have the spawn advantage. So all of these kills are, you know, they're important, but they're just kind of like, there's just not a lot of strategic intel to get out of here, right? A lot of people would say, oh, this is where one-on-one comes really into play, but I don't rely on one-on-one. That's dangerous. Right? Relying on a one-on-one and you winning that one, I don't like that. That's not enough confirmation of winning a game for me. I need some strategy to secure my victory. And what they did there was threw bodies on the point. The enemy had to throw bodies on the point. As long as they kept on getting one kill every now and then, and they didn't all die at once, they're going to start getting the spawn advantage. And I think after 1 or 2 kills, that's what happened. It actually works double because the Widow, like I was saying, once the spawn advantage, or when the spawn happens, the Widow has now flanked herself just naturally in the map. So actually, as soon as a couple of them died and they started coming back to battle, they forced the Widow out of their perch and just start going on the point again. So here we go. Zoning ult. Genji uses his ult. He does clear the balcony, which, based on our last game, is good, but there's no follow-up like it this time. When everyone got pushed off the high ground, there wasn't really too much of a plan to clean up. But I like the idea of Winston forcing the high ground, getting everyone off of it. Genji forced the balcony, forcing everyone off of it, and then it became to a brawl on point.
Sought the sanctuary of spawn, and Tracer was able to clean that up as well. Now the advantage firmly in favor of Renegades.
Robert, the video I did with Overwatch Central was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Well, thank you.
This is something that you will see most pro teams do, most high-level teams. If center didn't work, let's try top. If top didn't work, let's try left. Well, this is where Mangachu's going to look to put them in the freezer.
So they get made. So what Mei does is, while Mei does lack damage, and this is like a really obvious thing that Mei does, is, right, she walls off half the team, or whatever amount of the team you want. Let's just talk about this really quickly. So Mei is a valve, more or less. And her job is to allow a certain amount of teammates into the choke. So if you have 6 people, that's a terrible 6. And you're going through a choke point, and Mei walls off 2. Well, that's good. That's great. You stopped the push. Congratulations. But if your team still needs to build ult, maybe you could have been a little bit greedier. And this is a little bit of a lesser point, but I think as people get better, they'll start taking these little details and getting a little bit more and more from it. You have to analyze what your composition is. So these other 5 heroes, how much damage they can do, what heroes they have, how much hit points they have, and their ability to survive. And maybe you're like, you know what, I can actually get away with walling off 4 of them. Because then we get more or less twice as much ult percentage from it. Also with the Tracer, I know I'm only saying this because the announcers are like, why would you run a Mei with a Tracer? It's counterintuitive. Mei walls off people, and then Tracer can't kill everyone at once with the Pulse Bomb, or she can't, like, do something. And I was like, fucking announcers, you don't know what you're talking about. That means there's 2 people over here, and Tracer can flank super easy and get behind them, and she knows there's only 2 people here, and she can usually pick one or 2 of them off, right? She's better with low numbers. So Mei and Tracer actually work really well. Mei and any DPS. If you wall someone off and there's only 1 person here, and you leave, like, I don't know, a hog or a soldier or anything that can deal damage, if that's a support, they're dead. But yeah, Mei play. She is a Valve. That's how I look at the hero.
Perhaps Jer can speed boost in one way or another, but knowing that there is a Mei on the field, they might just have to go center and try something, but I think left is nearly off limits now.
And now they do have a graviton up Hex, but how do you use
So here they go. They're coming up this...
Timing's
Fuck.
overrated.
great amount of effort?
I hate this point, and I hate this right here. This is
You're not really easy.
probably the worst 10 meters of Overwatch.
It's not terrible to rotate left here, then try to pull them off the ledge with the graviton.
Timing's
They
overrated.
split,
Center, and there's a wall.
and they get split again. Look what happened.
Icefeld already down early.
That was pretty dangerous on their part. That Tracer could have got a lot of kills. She didn't, but holy crap, could she have gotten a lot of kills there.
Timing's overrated.
So good news is push was stopped. Bad news was none of them really died.
The safer choice is wait for Icefeld. Oh my
I like this. This is a little cutesy play by Tracer.
going in there, but
Seeing if anyone's singled out.
They keep trying to go here. I would rather rotate towards where Jesus is and try to throw that graviton below the ledge. Pull them off the door.
Holy shit, that was a rough recall.
But right now, simply not dealing with anything, getting caught between a vice here.
this is really rough position here for LG. They're gonna have to blow the graviton sooner.
So they're all stuck together. They Lucio ult to deal with the Winston that jumped on them. They push off the high ground, which is great. This is where you want to stage an attack from. Reinhardt gets picked. That's, yeah. Now they go from high ground to on point, which is great. Do they get the Mei? Okay, they get the stall queen herself. She gets her ult off, but they start cleaning up.
Come down, but there's a lot of damage. The grab comes in very late, perhaps unnecessary, but cleaning it up, they will get.
And then starts the scramble phase. Everyone just runs the point, try to kill people, try to stall. This is 2CP in a nutshell.
Really setting up most of LG here for these kills, and even though they've lost a few people, they have a strong presence on the point. They just can't lose anyone here, Hex, or they will lose their momentum. But it's not how his Icefeld with the tack visor.
Here it is. Remember what I said the entire fucking time on offense, or the other team on offense? Hit scan, get to the balcony. If a soldier gets to the balcony with ult, kiss your ass goodbye.
And LG very close now to take
Especially Eisenfeld. This guy did work on King's Row, and guess what? You gave him the high ground. You had no way to negate the distance, nor the height advantage, and you just lose.
From Renegades as they tried to vice them on the stairs, unable to clean up those kills.
Now let me ask you about a combo that you have there, because I think there is
Here it is. Hold on. We're going to turn up the volume on this one. All right, announcers. Fucking share your wisdom.
synergy. You're running Mangachu on the Mei, which means that you really just want to collapse on people as they move in, and you split them off. But
Doesn't mean you want to collapse on people. I mean, you want to split them off. You want to be a Valve. You want to get a couple people in, and you want to split the team off. But when you split the team off, you split them off, right? There's people on both sides of the choke that you split.
you have a conundrum there is that if you're running a very aggressive defensive tracer, which Jesus was,
No, you use the tracer to kill the lesser number that you've split off.
and you get picked off, suddenly the other team doesn't feel as bad about getting split off because they know they have a 6v5.
Timing's overrated.
This is assuming the tracer gets picked against the two, right? It's not like a 6v6 on one side of the wall, because then the wall doesn't do anything. The tracer loves low numbers. So if you split 4 people off, the lower number's on the other side.
Aggressive when you're having good success with your Mei.
It had been working, and I think you're right. In theory, that is correct. But they
And I know I grill the announcers, but at the same time, these guys have to think of all this shit up on the fly. So sometimes, if I was there, I'd probably say some stupid-ass stuff. right? If I didn't like look at this game beforehand and think about what I wanted to say and the points I wanted to make, if I had just filled that air, I'd be like, yeah, man, fucking May Wall. God, it's ice. Yeah. Yeah, it's ice. And they'd be like, yeah, that's a good point. Like, the casters have to back up the other casters. They'd just be on board with that shit.
Sort of just got picked off early. Right.
Ah, timing's overrated.
I would like to put other announcers in really fucking shitty spots to see if they can bail me out. Be like, yeah, what's your face? Can you talk to me about the type of wood on Hanamura? Like, those are some pretty strong doors, right?
Very early spells the end of this push already.
Well, Renegades definitely looking for a highly aggro dive comp again, backed up by Jesus on Widowmaker, but people in the...
So, let's look at this defense or off. I don't care about the defense. Well, I do care about the defense, but let's look at the offense. They're doing the same shit, right? Both teams capped. They're doing the same thing. Dive, 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 dive. Well, no, this is counter. Widow is counter dive. Sorry. This is taking advantage of the dive. Boop, boop. So does this. These two snipers, they take advantage of when everyone else is in chaos.
Ah, timing's overrated.
And they got a Torb on defense, which is good because it like takes up some time, but you know, it's Torb. I don't believe I need to speak much of it.
Ah, timing's overrated.
Safe distance because they have the Diva, and then when they pops up, Diva goes there. But wow, taken down by a combination of a Pharah.
So he just gets 1-0'd with 1 health. I've been here before.
Ah, timing's overrated.
This is funny. Yeah, you got it. Hey, check your health. Yeah. Now you got it.
Finally got it back. He finally has health. He's been healed. But
So Torb turrets. Anyone that puts a turret on that balcony, it does get outranged from anyone up here.
because there's 30 seconds left, they are
This is really good play on the Genji's part. Like, he's putting pressure on the point. This is what Genji needs to do. This is what Genji, Tracer, and Pharah need to do. They need to get out of the choke, put pressure on the point, allow your snipers to take an easy positional advantage and start doing damage.
real opportunity to finish off this point.
Cypher's got tanks in his sights.
So yeah, they just clean up.
Kills, that is huge for them. It looks like they will get this point in rather short order here with maybe even some time on the clock.
Well, remember, they get an extra 30 seconds here.
So they get the point.
Time, so
Genji pushes forward,
time to make the push on last.
and let's see what happens. They get the 30 seconds. Dun dun dun.
And you still have the
A 30-second push on Hanamura? No way. Not possible, right? This map blows.
That Widow has ult has been popped. Now everyone cannot hide. That's how he knows that Roadhog is around the corner. So really nice synergy there as they go in. Dragon Blade's about
So they notice a disparity.
being unleashed. Renegades all in right now because they have to be. They get the first kill in this fight. Saipe not sated.
So before this even happened,
They have the 4-point dream right here in Hanamura. It is
and this was all Genji.
lost for Lucio here.
Oh, I shouldn't say it was all Genji. This was really, a huge Genji moment.
stall out game is going to be absolutely critical, but it does not look like it is favoring them at all. A nice
So Genji pushed pressure on there, but he dies. It doesn't matter. He did his damn job.
ticks. Can they get any kill or stall out here? I don't think so, ZP.
Well, 2 ticks account from suspect.
Keep May off the point. Oh, you got let May on the point.
They just need to deal with the last
She's
one.
dead.
May has fallen already. Jesus unaccounted for in the back line. Renegades in total control of this point right now.
So what no one is noticing
In right now, Hex.
is there's a little thing called a widow. Remember the 3 times I've said this? If you get a widow or a soldier on the high ground and you don't contest her right away and you're stuck running on point, you're going to lose.
Finish it out, but they are being a nuisance. Jesus.
Yeah.
I think this is the perfect time to run Widow.
That's
When everyone
you can't. It sucks. It sucks so bad when that happens and you're like, well, I would like to go past the point and get the widow, but I'm going to be stuck on the point because we're just about to lose. But there's a couple things we want to make note beforehand. And these are like Overwatch fundamental stuff. It's probably right here. It's right before the Genji ults.
Maker getting a pick, so Renegades does have a shot here, Hex.
So Widow uses her ult.
has all
She gets sight. And now you saw the Tracer to the left.
hide, that's how he knows that Roadhog is around.
Right there. I didn't pause it at the right time. There she is. So we have two people. Not with the team. I wouldn't call them out of position. I mean, they're not with their team. They're trying to get somewhere. She's trying to get up to the high ground. Roadhog's just holding the balcony. So what do? Press your advantage on the 4. What do? Winston, Genji ult on the 4. Like, good fucking luck. They try to retreat. They try to create space to negate the Genji ult, but he still gets 2 kills. Puts damage on the Tracer, kills the Tracer.
Timing's overrated.
Helps, I would say, more or less kill the Reinhardt. Puts damage on the D.Va, and then he goes to bully the Ana. But what set this up was the informational advantage from Widow's ult that showed everyone that the Roadhog was out of position along... Well, the Roadhog and Tracer weren't out of position. They weren't with the team, and so they did a 6v4 really, really quick. They used the mobility of Genji and Winston to bridge the distance from the classes that have no mobility. And then it's right here, it's just Widow doing work. You have Widow having free reign on everyone. I could care less about individual skill between this Pharah and whoever's shooting or the Lucio ult. Pharah or Widow has free reign. Good fucking luck.
Well, the other thing too for Widow is that it's high risk, high reward in the sense that you're either going to win very heavily because you're getting pickups or you're getting nothing. And when you only have one,
HK, can you do that? Junk Central is cool, but can you also make it Bang interview?
So it worked out for Renegades, and now LG is in a very tough spot.
So can you make it?
Think about this, Hex. They have 2 minutes.
Can you make that HK? Can you make that go to the video as well?
And then that doesn't even guarantee them a win here. That's simply to make it a draw. Renegades is
So what? 50 seconds? 5, 10, 15, 20. There we go. That should be right on time. So this team, this time they don't do the bullshit of a defensive Widow, which it works if it works. I know that sounds stupid, but if you can hit your shots with Widow, you're going to do amazing defensively. The problem is it's hard to do. They put the turret, so you can see, so when the whole team flanked... Oh, let me get a better... When the whole team flanked here and ran that way, you can see this turret's there now to at least put pressure on them while they run around. Also, Genji's on the high ground. Yeah, they do the exact same strategy.
Timing's overrated.
So what happens this time? Torb does what I said the Widow did last time. Everyone rotated this way. The Torb rotated half.
Timing's overrated.
So instead of doing a full rotation and switching spots like the Widow did, what the Torb does is he cuts it in half, puts a turret there, and starts fighting the Winston right away. Cutting this circle off is really, really strong. If anyone's taking a circular route and you can just dissect it, do it. You'll probably win the fight. It's that's winning through logistics. So the turret's still there. Yeah, this turret is going to do some work until it gets destroyed.
Well, they are losing a lot of players right now, but Spree seems a little bit indecisive as he's trying to come back. Saipe all the
So,
way back.
couple deaths, but nothing terrible. They clean up. They buy the time needed to get the rest of the team back to combat. Winston's diving a little bit alone. There's a Tracer with him, but it's just a 2v5 because the Torb's fucking around back here. The defensive Tracer is looking for anyone not part of the group, like that Lucio. And now that no one else is around, she starts doing a little bit of damage and then gets a stick. And now it comes down to this Mercy. You have to kill her. No one? No one? Oh! The Torb kills the Genji, the Mercy, and starts doing work.
The last of it, but there is 20 seconds left. Not a ton to work with for Luminosity. Perhaps a Dragon Blade.
So they try to dive there, and it looked like the dive got cut off, essentially. The people that dove, they dove with 2 against 5 or 4. They kind of got beat out. By the time they were dying, the Mercy and Pharah and everyone else got the point, and at that point, it was just too late. They didn't dive as one, they dive in 2 separate waves. And it comes down to getting that Mercy. And the Torb, 3 kills, 4 kills, and then dies to a Winston. As far as overtime is concerned, he did all the work that was needed.
comfortably, and that is going to give us an even series here, Hex. 1-1, Renegades striking right back on.
So, it was a pretty average game. What I like about this game more than anything is, one, we saw hit scan in the balcony and how goddamn important it was. And two, we learned how two teams evaded a choke point in two different ways, and both of them worked.
Can we just get the Tor play the game? I'd be ecstatic. And yeah, there it is.
Tor play the game.
Ah, aiming's overrated.
Substance that is Tor viewing.
Yeah,
Molten Core extremely
I think Molten Core is a little bit underrated. But he point blanks to Lucio,
off in time,
snipes the Pharah out of the air, snipes the Mercy out of the air, and I think he kills the Genji as well.
nigh unkillable.
Certainly, and it worked out in the end. And it's interesting too because a lot of times people that are running something like a Torb wouldn't necessarily stay on it.
And so, let's stop listening to these fuckers. Let's draw a little mustache on him. Oh, he already has one. It would look good if it was pink, though. Yeah. Yeah. If it was longer. I think that looks better. This guy. I can't fix him. Can't fix you, buddy! Next match. Ah, Nepal.
Pulls the strings. He's not a willing
Ah,
participant.
aiming's overrated.
Absolutely popular fan theory for sure. I do believe.
All right. Bow. First thing you want to note in any match, especially King of the Hill, Lucio. All right. Both teams are running a Lucio. If you don't run a Lucio, avoid the fucking first fight. You're going to get there late and you're going to get shoved in the choke point.
Probably seeing both teams go.
But we don't have to worry about that right now.
The Braveheart, as I like to call it.
Unfortunately, Megachu has swapped off on
This...
Spree striking first blood on that Pharah first.
I'm not going to lie.
Matchup in Spree, raining rockets from above. He's already picked up two. Genji and
The first part of this map is very not tactically significant. I mean, there's some cool shit you can do, no lie. But you come out of that choke point and then you look for someone, you make eye contact and then you kill them. It's pretty badass.
How Renegades is able to.
A lot of individual skill, a lot of DM skill comes here. Any tactical or strategy stuff you have has to take in place in a very micro-type manner.
And successfully hold it.
In fact, it's to a micro-type manner that is very difficult to find with this spectator system.
Well, first cap is going to go the way of Renegades, but they don't have quite a dominant presence on the point right now. They still have everyone coming back in. Potentially an opportunity here for LG to get back in the quick attack, but they're waiting so long.
Yeah, I actually don't have many notes for Nepal. King of the Hill gets infinitely worse as soon as you start, losing that point. After you take a point on Nepal, it becomes attack versus defense, and the defense naturally gets... So let's just talk about this for a second. Come here. Whenever I talk about attack versus defense, defense has the natural advantage because that's what makes the game mode fun. Like, that's why it makes payload and whatnot fun. If it was a complete even Steven fight every time, it wouldn't be that much fun. But attackers have to go up against something a little bit stronger than what they have for themselves. So we usually see that as a terrain advantage, such as high ground, a choke, but always a formational advantage defense has. And these are all puzzle pieces that attack needs to solve. The problem is with King of the Hill... Oh, that's an H. It's not a... There we go. This doesn't apply. Well, it does. It doesn't apply for the first push. After that, King of the Hill does kind of become attack versus defense. And you start negating these issues. What's the problem? Well, the spawn advantage that attack gets doesn't apply in King of the Hill. So it's a very tough and unforgiving mode, but it's by far the funnest, I think. Just know what you're up against, and know your advantages and your disadvantages, and then play towards their strengths and exploit the other's weakness.
Number situation, darting in and around. Number's not really in his favor right now, but he's able to get on site pay, and for now, not too much pressure on. But
Oh shit! I forgot to change the title.
taken out, and that's going to let Renegades hold on for just a little bit more.
Just very low. Here comes the response finally from Luminosity to deal with the threat that is Mangachu and Shurlaki, who've been raining terror upon them. He will be the one to switch over to the 76, and everyone plays everything on Luminosity.
There we go.
LG does not have very defined roles, but they do have versatile players.
Oh, thanks, HKit.
But Justice raining from Mangachu in over the top only gets one. He's neutralized pretty quickly here as LG looks to bring this fight right back.
So they push out the top. They use a couple ults. They DM a couple more. It's nothing much strategically to talk about. Like I said, I don't like talking about 1v1 matchups. Like, oh, this Genji need to do X, Y, and Z, and oh, he messed up on Q. Oh, and this team should have ran this at this point. It's like, nah, don't worry about that. What I care about is how this team's attacking. What are the general macro strategies they're using? Like, they lost the guy before that fight even happened. That happened because the Tracer was not pushing with the team. And then once they got a number disparity, the game becomes so much harder.
They burned everything because the clock was running down, and I gotta say, I don't think Jesus died that game. If he did, it was very brief, and he was back alive. A constant nuisance in the back of Luminosity.
And one thing that's worth noting, too, is that Mangachu, of the two Pharahs, was way more supported than Spree was during that. And that's why, in that first fight, Renegades was able to turn that more to their advantage. I thought Spree had a great opening, but when Mangachu is...
So here we go. I don't care about teams, but Lucio is what dictates what happens at first. Both teams running Lucio. Nothing to note.
Zarya right here instead, perhaps giving a little more support. No wholesale changes coming across. Will rotate.
Timing's overrated.
Ube is going to stay on the Genji, but I like that Genji a lot more now that he's going to have the support of his... All right, Ube switching to 76. Icefeld on McCree. This is Luminosity Gaming at their finest.
Well, it is Luminosity Gaming. Finest might be too complimentary of a word to this just confusion as to...
So this is a cool point. This is actually something that we can talk about. So you can already notice Luminosity's in a really bad spot. Not only because they have a Tracer shooting them from behind and there's a Pharah above, but the biggest issue with this entire phase... Let's look at it again. Let's look at it again. The biggest issue is that they are stuck in a corner and they can't do shit. Why do they get stuck in the corner? That's the big question to this entire push is. It's not about the one-on-one battles. It's not about what classes they ran. What classes they ran does have a big thing to do with it. But the big question is what did you do to get stuck in the corner? Come on. Come on, YouTube. 1, 2, 3. Go back 15 seconds. Here we go. That's all it took. By the way, I just went back 15 seconds. That's all it took for them to lose this point. You got to remember that. So right here is the first part. Watch this. Winston splits up the team. It's up to Lucio and Ana, McCree. Reinhardt and Zarya kind of need to hold the front line to keep the rest of the team at bay. What's the other one? Where's their soldier? But what this Winston does is it keeps... Alright, so you can see everyone's turning around to deal with the Winston. While this is all happening, Tracer takes on a one-on-one with the McCree because she believes she can take it. And she does. They have yet to get pushed out of this corner, but they did kill the Winston. But the Winston did his job. The team is now stuck right here. High ground belongs to this team. Health pack over here belongs to this team. They're stuck in a corner. They're also against a Pharah. That's probably over here. And a Mercy that's up there. So while they're dealing with everyone else, while they're stuck in a corner, Tracer flanks into them, which is great. That's really confusing for a team to deal with. She steals their health pack. Even if someone wanted to run away and take it, they can't get it. Now they're stuck back in this corner. They try to push out. They get punished from all angles. They get punished from a Genji. The Pharah's up here, and a Tracer's behind them. Even if we're looking like at this drawing as a top-down view, like this is a really shit place to be. The enemy team, the defending team at this point, can't figure out how to take this out. They don't know what to focus on. They just start losing people. Once they start 1 or 2 and they start bleeding out, it's over. And during that whole fight, they were at a 2-man disadvantage. So that compounds the entire issue. But my biggest advice, if you ever get into a confusing situation like this, where there's just shit everywhere, and your team's over here, pick a side. Kill it. Cleave to the center. This is what will save your ass. This is what I do as Junkrat or anytime I play Overwatch. If something confusing happens, I'm like, all right, let's get rid of this. All right, now we have an entry of escape. We have a breathing point. We now start controlling this space. And now I'm going to start cleaning up this way. Unless this guy's like really like if he's right there and it's easy to kill him. But yeah, that's what I'll normally do. But yeah, pick a side, cleave to the center. Best fucking advice I can give you guys when things are really confusing.
And how they're running this. You have Mangachu throwing in poking rockets before they even get to the front. You have Jesus setting up a flank with a pulse bomb. They're not making it easy for LG to get a normal control point push where everyone goes in at the same time.
So Farah, oh, this is so important. This is so goddamn important. You guys know with my triangle, I value information more than anything. Farah sees their movement into this way. That's information. She punishes it right away. She dies, but she definitely just put a stop in that attack they had. Not the whole attack, but the part that was flanking from behind.
Timing's overrated.
The double hit scan that Luminosity is running should be effective against this, but Jesus.
So what happens is half of their team came from low ground and the other team came from high ground. This was delayed by like 2 to 3 seconds because of the Farah. It seems like not much, but actually it was a good bit of deal. And I think if we can review this, I think Ana was forced a bionic grenade, whoever was hurt there, and the entire team died within the next 10 seconds, so she didn't have that resource available to her. Let's see if she baited out the bionic grenade, and let's see if it took 10 seconds. So there's the Ana. Took a hit. Soldier's up there too. Soldier used rockets, killed her. Oh, the Farah killed the Ana. Never mind. Alright, that's really important.
Timing's overrated.
And look, where's the soldier at? The soldier is... I wish I had spectator mode. There's the soldier. The soldier... So that little move that Farah did that killed the Ana pushed the soldier back and delayed him by like 7 seconds. Right there, what happened was a 4v5. And no one will credit that Farah with essentially being the maestro of that entire push. She dictated what happened there.
I guess Icefeld's just going to try to duel him on Tracer.
Icefeld was thinking McCree would be the one to deal with it.
Again, Genji's just doing this little thing. He's getting information. This is really, really important. They try to push on main. Winston pushes in. This is classic. This is kind of a dive comp. It's not really a dive comp, but the Winston dives in. Actually, it is a dive comp. It's Winston, Genji, Tracer, Farah. Winston is going to take all the attention. He wants Farah to flank from above. He wants Genji to flank from one angle and Tracer to flank from another angle. It's a hyper aggressive dive comp. Yeah, the soldier dropped back and went the main way, and that he wasn't part of the fight. That Ana, that entire flank, the above flank, did not meet up with the lower flank, and that's why they lost that fight. And that's like, I guess I want to pause it and just make note of that. Most people talk about... So the main team came out here, and the Ana soldier were up here. The Ana soldier got negated, and it became a 4v5 because the Farah, died up here. I think a lot of people would focus on the one-on-one between the Ana and the Farah. They would focus on the fights that happened after here, like a 4v5. Like, oh, they could have won that if X did Y. Like, if the Reinhardt did this and this guy was playing awesome. It's like, I don't give two fucks about individual actions, more or less. Individual actions can overcome this 4v5, but I don't like saying that. To bank on your guys being that much better than them is a really shit thing to depend on. I like depending on strategy. So that's what I'm going to note here. I don't really care about the individual actions. I don't want to make micro little corrections of these pro players that have every other fucking analysis and announcer and commentator just picking apart whatever they do. It's like, man, fuck, get a life, guys. Like, people make mistakes. What happened was a strategic loss. So they altered their way into that one, I believe.
Timing's overrated.
Looks like they don't necessarily have the perfect answer to Mangachu.
So now they have the defensive advantage, and let's see what the Renegades do to win this one, or at least to try to win it.
Well, he's gonna have to shovel the bomb right now because two of his teammates are already gone. It's gonna be up to him to swing this.
So it looks like they overcommitted, or they didn't overcommit. They attacked left side. Someone give me bits? Who just gave me bits? Oh, you just gave me a bit. Thank you. So they try to ult out. They committed hard on this far side. They get a couple picks right away. And that opens up the entire door for them. It looked like the Zarya Tracer combo didn't get much, but... yeah, everyone rushes to the point, doesn't get anything.
I think this composition is so effective because of all of the angles that all the damage is coming.
It's hard to say what goes on sometimes with this spectator client. But as soon as the Tracer got over there, it was it looked like it was a 5v6 because the Tracer got over there and 2 people were dead. So it was a 4v5 after that first engagement. Are we going to get some gameplay after this? What time is it? Maybe. We'll see how long this goes. I have to take a break at 4:30. Actually, I'm going to say no. It's 3:45. I only got 45 more minutes, and then I'll be done until late tonight. That's when I'll start playing. So here comes where everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, you're reviewing this match because this guy picked Junkrat." Blah 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 blah. Like, I don't give a fuck. All right, it just so happened that this guy picked Junkrat. In a match that I thought was really interesting, mainly the King's Row one.
Timing's overrated.
So, yeah, Junkrat's good at this point. He's good on this any kind of stairway type environment. He's really good at. Also, he's good with that trap because if Reinhardt tries to charge down this to get someone, the trap will save him. And now, remember what I said about the defense having the advantage, like attack versus defense? Not only are they going up against the formation advantage now, because King of the Hill has now transcended into attack versus defense, but they got this choke point, and yeah, Junkrat's really fucking good at dealing with this choke point. Also, Junkrat's paired with Winston, which is incredibly strong. Winston forces a lot of attention on himself, and that allows you to shoot people. So yeah, they're gonna plug this choke as best they can with the abilities that they have. At this point in time, you got to look behind yourself, because yeah, there you go. Now you're looking behind. Good job. So they fight through the first choke point, and now they kind of got to go through a second choke point. And while they're going through all this chokes, all these terrain disadvantages, they're taking damage. But no one saw the soldier on the counter high ground. Remember what I said on Hanamura about soldiers on balconies with ults?
I think people just don't even know what that voice line
yeah.
is. Fire in the what? I don't know what that is, but Eisfeld made sure to take advantage of the high ground on the left.
Junkrat gets to Lucio. They're just kind of bleeding away stuff right now.
The one person who did not die in that fight, Tyre did work. He found Lucio towards the end, and Renegades coming right back.
So here comes the Wombo, or at least something of a Wombo. Zarya ult gets one, kind of puts pressure on the other two, but doesn't get too much. Junkrat dishing out the deeps.
It out, and he's going to be having another tire in short order as well at 86%. As you mentioned, 80% on the
Again, they have to contest this choke. Every time they just get punished as they walk through the choke point.
A few ultimates they can use in their favor. Most notably,
You just want to do as much damage as you can to the team on their way to their goal. And then when they get on the goal, that's when you fully commit. Because hopefully the opposing team will at least burn resources or be in a weaker state.
down very early on. Hook is going to come out here. Pangachu trying to get away. Whole hog in on the way from LG, but Super Poke is down. Didn't get as much as he wanted, but there's the fall through from Spree. Should let LG take this, but again, it's a rough situation. X have taken it, but now they have to hold it.
Timing's
And
overridden.
then
going to be very difficult to
he switches off a Junkrat. That's the only like
this is the
change that happens, and that makes a lot of sense.
down to
Because now the roles have reversed.
for the rest of the
Now Luminosity is on defense. They get the formation advantage and the choke point advantage.
much to the chagrin of I believe everyone now off.
And one of the you kind of got to have to bully your way through the choke points. Hit points really help. So going from Junkrat to Roadhog makes a lot of sense. This flanking Tracer gets some damage. The counter flanking Tracer gets a kill.
Pulse bomb gets on the Juvenile, flanking around the side, but this
It's more or less
great here from LG.
4v4, 5v5-ish.
Going to get one as he gets knocked right on the ground by that Earthshire, but Jesus is still,
But they capitalize on the one Zarya ult with a Pulse Bomb.
and they are
And then they got nothing from the counter Zarya ult. Also, they used Reinhardt ult. So they used two really big teamfight ults and got little to nothing from it.
Timing's overridden.
Now, but it's
Then they just bullied them off point,
a victory dive off the
which gives them the second win.
but that is going to be Renegades taking Nepal.
Renegades coming back in strong form.
Timing's
here
overridden.
on the last two maps, and I gotta say,
So,
one player
while we wait for the next map, is there anyone with questions? Anyone want to talk?
the Junkrat for sure.
You can win fights with one ult quite consistently. Yeah, like
Sanctum, and
they burned less. Well, no, they burned the same amount of ults,
sorry, not Garm, but I'm trying.
but they got more from it.
Tracer play coming out.
It was because the Tracer was doing really, really strong work. Is this live? No, it's not. Look, see, look, it's. I think this Carbon series is still going on, but it's only week 1.
Colorado Hex. This is, of course, one of the classic Overwatch maps. It was in the beta very early, and when you take a look at it, it's interesting because you have a very unique defensive posture here in the courtyard into a verticality.
Timing's overridden.
Streets, and it's
Let's skip ahead to the action. Do I have any notes? I didn't really have any notes on Nepal. It wasn't that exciting of a match, but it happened.
As we go there,
There's a little bit every now and then of tactical superiority.
what makes it hard to push for the offense is that unlike other maps,
But King of the Hill has a lot to do with individual skill. Tactics do come into play, rotations, how you get out of a choke. More about retaking a lost point is where you need strategery.
dream is real.
If you're on defense and you have the point, it's more about bullying them when they get through the choke points.
I think they have the right answers for it. And
Turn up volume on YouTube video. No, I don't want to hear these fuckers.
position, but you can't dive the center. I think we need to see teams go more over to the right side flank. They have both heroes who can do the right side flank in Genji and Pharah. They need to come over the top. There's a lot of buildings that need to be destroyed.
And this is a case where you do have a double threat from
So
Genji.
right off the bat, let's just talk about something. Double builder. And this is going to come to bite them in the ass.
Foul of a turret.
So the big thing about a double builder is you're taking away probably a DPS, right? And that's true. They're running a 3-2-1, except the 2 are builders and the 1's a support.
50% now.
What's the problem with tanks? The big problem with tanks is they don't have any ability to negate long-range issues. They can do damage mitigation, but they have no way really to attack long-range. Builders, again, suffer from long-range issues. Not that Torb can't shoot someone far away. He has no fall-off on his gun, but it's a projectile. It's hard to hit someone far away. And we're going to see how this gets exploited really bad.
Either a teleporter or a shield barrier.
Especially with a Pharah.
Whenever they get to
So Pharah's just keeping her distance.
nice start from
Timing's overridden.
Renegades defense.
She starts removing the buildings. She's looking around for easy targets.
How you dive in on
Right now, the entire game is on Pharah's back because they have no long-range answers. She finds the turret.
Timing's overridden.
long range.
Turret goes down, and they're going to just sound the horns of fucking Gondor, and everyone's going to go in. Everyone goes in with the turret down, the Torb gets focused. Symmetra doesn't have anything up, including her ult, so she gets killed. Or I don't think she gets killed, but she's kind of a little bit more useless here. Once there's a numbers disadvantage, they just start pulling back and picking out anyone out of position.
Went in surgically, multiple members diving at the same time in spree. Every rocket on point, and this should be a first point cap here from LG. Very difficult to recover as a defense.
It was a very good attack. I liked how they attacked as soon as the sentry went down. They focused anyone that they came across like first. Like the Torb was there. Like, sorry Torb, you're just the first one on their warpath. 2 people retreating into the small room, so they just ignored them and they killed anyone out in the open. And now comes the dive to try to stop the cap, but that doesn't work.
To regroup and probably switch off of their builders.
Now, Hex, how much does this momentum mean going in the second here, where LG did that very cleanly? 4 ultimates up, soon to be 6. How big of an
So yeah, so because they changed, they lose a lot of ult percentage, right? They scrap the double builders. So this is going to be a little bit of an uphill battle for the first fight. If they can negate the first fight and do things well here, they'll get over the fact that they really lost a lot of ult percentage.
a little bit, but a big opportunity here for LG as they look to get in your second ice belt. Already on in his sights.
Little multi-pronged attack. Doesn't get too much. Defense, I believe that was an ulted Zarya, and they pushed through. Oh no, the ulted Zarya didn't get it. Yeah, she didn't get as much work done as I thought she was. But yeah, the Pharaoh's going around uncontested. They got a soldier. Tracer can kind of deal with the Pharaoh a little bit. And, you know, at least she has hit scan. Everyone jumps on point. It's really hard to say what's going on there. But they overcommit, it looks like, except for 1 or 2 that were flanking. They killed the flankers first. And then commit to the bigger group. And now here's the funny shit. Oh, soldier. Oh, there's soldier with his ult. What happened? What happened with this soldier? I think I have the timestamp. No, I don't. What has been the common theme with this entire game, with soldiers and alts? He likes to chill on balconies. Oh, hold on. I gotta go back a little bit farther. Nope, we gotta go back a little bit farther. So while they overdove on this part, and this is where these 3 guys kill the whoever that is. Watch this. Everyone's fighting here. There's 5 blue players, and we're like, oh, where's that soldier at? Oh my god, look at this son of a bitch. Look at this son of a bitch. Every fucking time, in every fucking game, all this combat's going on, and while all this combat's going on, what's going on? The soldier is flanking. He's done this every single map, every single time, and no one's picking up on it. He has 78%. Watch what happens. So this whole entire engagement happens, and watch his number. It's just gonna pop straight up. Alt happens. All right, probably like, yep, he took out a Winston. He's doing more damage. Genji ignored the soldier on the high ground. What happens? He tries to punish low ground. That's a good idea, but the soldier now has ult. He comes down from the high ground, cleans up. The ult scares away everyone, does damage, secures the point. Every single time, dude, this guy does it. Soldiers, look where he's going to. He's going to the high ground. This happens on every single map, by the way. If you're wondering how you lose, this is actually just really good individual skill here. That's whooped his ass. He's staying on the high ground. He's not yielding it for anything. Look, he's hiding. Forces the Winston up here. Oh, look, I have an Ana. Winston is overcommitted now with a Genji. They try to punish the overcommitment by attacking their supports. And look, they clean up. So, this is a really common tactic that works well. Is that when a couple people attack you, instead of trying to fight with a couple people and try an even ground and just be like, skill versus skill, let's see who wins, it's usually better to run away and then fight again. Because while this entire operation takes time, you can take your 4 guys and attack their other 4. And depending on what classes go where, you can easily get some picks on some supports.
And a nice little helix for good measure onto Ube.
And that's what happened. They overcommitted. They didn't overcommit. They committed 2 to clearing the high ground. The high ground just backed up a little bit. They went down the staircase. The 4 committed on the other 4 with the essentially the hero disparity, because they committed a tank and a DPS against a support in DPS. So they just committed all 4, including the tanks they had free and the DPS they had free. Because yeah, they're running 3 DPS, 1, 2, 3, and a tank. So if you just take out these 2, is what they did. They still have 1, 2, 3 guys dealing good damage with a support. And they took out the Winston Genji. So they had 2 support, Tracer Soldier. 200. These are 200 hit points across the board. They had that extra bonus right there.
Aiming's overrated.
Bonus of the tank.
You wonder if they really plan for this sort of defense.
Still running a dive-ish composition. I think we should maybe take an.
So here they go. Now they commit the full team to the high ground.
Aiming's overrated.
Up top, they know they have to take these stairs back.
Well, they're certainly trying on its Taipei, though. Defensive Genji.
And they just yield the high ground completely.
And this for Renegades again. They have reestablished. They have their multiple threats up once more.
Aiming's
The Genji gets 2.
This time it's Taipei just diving to the back, ends up with 3 before it's all said and done. Nice
And they start getting...
against the wave of inevitability.
yeah, they didn't... They have to reset.
Throw himself off those cliffs.
While we have a reset here, what do you
Let's look at that. Let's look at that again. Let's go back. So while they take the background, like the right flank, left flank, depends on which way you're looking at it,
I think we should maybe
it doesn't seem like
Super Fluke see what he's gonna go after. What
they don't really dive on anyone.
Icefeld trying to
Right? They come up to the high ground, but guess what? Joke's on them. No one was there. Either this was really good response on Renegade's part. Right? They saw the entire team coming up this way, so they rotated this way. And if we go back like a second, yeah, we can kind of see the outlines of people here. So they've essentially dodged the entire attack on this flank. And what they did is they, I believe Genji, I don't know if he ults. It looks like he just gets a couple kills. Winston keeps the people up here busy. So this Winston ties up 3 resources, 1v3, while the other 5 attack the other 3. Yeah, Genji just, it looks like he just beats their ass. It doesn't look like he ulted. Oh, he doesn't. Of course he doesn't ult. He doesn't have it. And then, yep, the old reset.
Aiming's overrated.
have a reset here. What do you think of seeing all these tracers go after Lucio's? To me, I feel like it's taking them way too long, and oftentimes they don't get the kill. They get collapsed on.
Here they are holding the high ground again.
It's hard to say. I mean, if your tracking is on point.
And this is a little bit on Luminosity's fault. Luminosity should have heard the soldier running because he has really, really loud foot stomps. If soldier sprints, he sounds louder than Winston. They didn't notice the sound cue and they got flanked from above. So they back up. They noticed that last movement of theirs was a little bit greedy. So now he's pulling back a little bit, but it's still keeping the high ground, especially with ult. Again, balconies and soldiers with ult. It's really fucking good. So they decide not to negate the terrain advantage. We have a soldier who gets ulted. Winston tries to negate the ult. This is a pretty good job. He pretty much ate it all. Nano soldier ult. But while this all happened, you know, Luminosity killed 2. And now they're trying to rotate on him. Oh, fucking Ana.
Finds on the Lucio, and Renegades could still bring this back despite that early pressure.
Really close from Luminosity.
They keep winning. This is where, like I said, I don't like commenting on individual skill, but a couple of these are they're winning some one-on-ones that are winning them the game. Now it's overtime, and everyone's just jumping on the point. The kills on Luminosity's side happened during overtime, so it's going to be a little bit longer. By all means, I've watched this before. I watched this like 3 or 4 times, and there's nothing strategically I can talk about at this point. This Tracer is just extremely strong. Mangachu, like, the Tracer bought time for the Soldier to get to the high ground with ult again and just start clearing house. That's really, really good communication and skill on their part. By all means, it looked like the Tracer should have died there. They should have pushed the card in. If they pushed the card in, the Soldier wouldn't have had time to get to the high ground. But the Tracer just stayed alive so long. The more I watch these games, the more I see Tracers do work. I think Tracer could be one of the strongest classes in the game right now, if she can be played correctly.
The question is, will they be able to beat the first point defense of LG?
Very long, drawn-out fights. I know we were talking about Luminosity yesterday, just as we were preparing this, and how Luminosity, they fight longer than any other team. It seems like they fight.
So I said to mention, take note of this before.
Benefit sometimes that's to their disadvantage.
So one thing I do want to before we get too far removed,
the defense this time does not go double builder. Right, this could be a Torb, by all means.
support going in on him. I feel like if there was anyone else with that Winston, Mangachu would have.
Come on. Alright, this should put us really close to the start of the game. So they only do 1 builder. They do 3 tanks, 1 support, 1 builder, but this time, instead of having that second builder of Torb, they run a Soldier. Now what this does is it gives them a long-range answer, which is what the other defense did not have. This is probably the biggest difference with the defenses. So it looks like Winston dove in, immediately gets shut down. Now there's this Pharah, and she could do work, but at least she has a Soldier contesting her now. See, Soldier's keeping her at bay. Doesn't get a kill, but it's stopping her from trying to get a poke or easy damage on the field. So here's that divish comp. Gets Symmetra, or they try to get Symmetra, but she gets saved by Zarya. They committed so much. They committed all of their movement resources on that Symmetra, but they didn't get it, so now they're at a bit of a disadvantage, right? All the resources are burnt. They're trying to recover. They can't. And they get a couple picks, and then it gets cleaned up. But that's one of the counters to dive comp, is just surviving that first 3 or 4 seconds. If you can, then take advantage of all the resources the enemy team has burnt diving on you.
We'll see how long they stay on it if this next fight does not have the results they're looking for. But for now, LG very.
So now, again, teams setting up.
This defensive Dorado posture. And
Yep, Soldier's putting some damage on the Pharah. Took out the Genji. This Soldier's doing work from longer range. This is what a Torb just couldn't accomplish. Yeah, that was a good shot. Helix AoE damage is huge. So again, it's this Soldier at long range that's really, really holding this team together.
if you are Renegades, because teams have been really poor at swapping until they only have a minute left. Well, now
It's funny, with the traditional 3-2-1 combo, everyone blamed Ana for making it so strong. Soldier had a huge part of it.
Praise I have lofted on him. He can be a bit stubborn as far as switching heroes. So he's on the Pharah now, 88%. You have to imagine if the barrage doesn't go well, I think they're going to give it just
Trap Block, I'll be playing later tonight, just not right now.
here, they're not for the defense. They don't have a teleporter, so kills matter. But it's going to be much harder for the offense to get those kills because a Soldier with 275 HP is a terror.
So it looks like they try to flank this right side. Soldier shut them down. He ulted. And now, but in the meantime, while this all was going on and people were dying, the Tracer flanked. 1 gets the spawn camp, but 2, she got the shield gen. So now they're putting pressure on the front door while Tracer's putting pressure everywhere. They do 2 or 3 ults at the same time, get a couple kills. Mercy gets a raise off, but Reinhardt. Reinhardt really buys a lot of time. They try to clean up with Genji. Genji gets a couple kills, and now, yeah, it all worked out. Winston keeps on putting pressure on the choke, especially with all these low hit point heroes. And they push through. That all started by that Tracer flank, which I really liked. She got the Ana pick off. If nothing else, man, is that fucking tilting. That really upsets you. And then the shield gen, obviously. She cut down 450 hit points of the enemy team. I like this because, unlike before, the other team, they weren't contesting high ground that much. This time, Genji's already up here. He's just keeping information. He's like, what's on the high ground, what's on the low ground. The Pharah immediately knocked her off, or knocked the Reinhardt off. So now it's more of a fair fight because everyone's on the ground. Actually, there's a Widow on the high ground. Also, they rolled a Widow out when it just so happened that the defensive team busted out a Pharah Mercy. So they secured the high ground, and now with the Widow at the high ground, they can really exploit that shit. So let's see what she does from the high ground. Jesus looking to do the yeoman's work and get them pushed out on this Widow to secure this second point. So Winston immediately just commits on the enemy team, tries to keep them busy. The Winstons trade spots. Essentially, they dive each other. Soldier ult doesn't get much, but because he committed so hard with it, the Pharah exploited that. Everyone's looking at the Pharah right now. The Pharah got 1 kill, and they couldn't kill her off because of the Zarya bubble. So all that time and space was just wasted trying to kill that Pharah. At that point, Pharah killed 2 people. She killed 1 just with her normal attacks, the soldier, and then got a couple damage. She killed another guy and then damaged others. At this point, it is now the scramble that I always talk about, where logic kind of goes out the window. A lot of people just try to dive on point. If someone's on point, you just try to keep a distance that your class can do well at and keep doing damage. Reinhardt, you know, God bless the guy. He's trying to do what he can, but... yeah. At this point, just keep on fighting. And they get it. And with that, that's the 3rd victory. So Renegades take this 3-1.
Jesus is running that Widow, and he gets a gift that they switch onto the combo. They switch onto Pharah Mercy blindly because they didn't know he was...
Technically, I think Renegades was... like, they deserved to win this one. Their strategy, I think, was a lot better. I think on most maps. I liked what they did. If I remember it correctly, I think... who won the King's Row one? Yeah, Renegades did. I think Renegades had fucking really good stuff on King's Row. I really liked that. That was an interesting game for Dive Comp vs. Dive keeping the Soldier and the Widow on the balcony. They kept the balcony clear on Hanamura. If I remember correctly, was that... who won Hanamura? I think that was one Luminosity won. I mean, that was a close game. They just got double capped on overtime. From there, it went Nepal. King of the Hill. As long as you're running Lucio, that's like the first step to strategy on King of the Hill. If you run a Lucio, you contest the choke that you're usually going to go through. If you don't have a Lucio, take the other way. Just because if you don't, you're going to get slammed back into that choke point. And Dorado, they just... on defense, they held the high ground. On offense, they contested it and didn't let them get set up. The one time was this... if we go back like probably a minute, it was this last push where they tried to hold the high ground and Winston immediately contested it. The Winston immediately dove right up here, and then it was so close that they just had to, the team fell down. Just their execution of contesting the high ground and the strategic importance of it was clear-cut throughout all 4 matches.
And the Renegades win and take the series.
Luminosity didn't do that as much, especially on Dorado. They only tried to contest high ground once or twice, and they kept on getting beat from it constantly. Soldier, like 2 or 3 times, kept on whooping their ass from the high ground.
That was just everyone after first point was taken.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions about any part of the games or anything like that? I mean, it's essentially my first review of a pro match. I mainly wanted to do this because of the Kings Row match. I thought that was incredibly interesting, and that's why I kept so much time on it. The other maps were more or less straightforward. There was still some cool stuff getting done. There were some good things to talk about, but not as much as that first one. That first one was great. That fucking dive comp was phenomenal. Hey, Leanne, what's up? I went to review on Envious versus Meta.
Ah, timing's overrated.
What do I think Luminosity did great? I'm trying to think. They lost the first one. I mean, they still had really good. The King Row one, they did lose, but both teams did really well on their dive comp stuff. What did Luminosity do well on? I'm trying to think. 'Cause I'm just remembering why they lost certain points. So if I had to say what they did well on, I would almost have to rewatch it. I think they were moving as a team. They moved as a team really well. There's a couple points where they all had 6. Hanamura, they did the team flank all as one. I think they took Hanamura point 2 in the same way, where they moved all 6 for better or for worse up to the high ground. Then they split off. Genji cleared the balcony, and that's what made him take the point. Dorado, there's a couple times where they meet up and they'll do stuff, but sometimes they just do the wrong stuff together. It seemed they have a good ability of teaming up and then executing from there, but sometimes their executions, I think, are misled. Dorado, I keep thinking, because they came around that right flank, but they didn't contest high ground, really. Or no, they did, but they got essentially rotated on. That's what happened that one. They got rotated on, and then the Winston jumped on the 3 that were trying to flank. The other 5 of the other team went on to the point with the other 3. So they divided up their resources, and that's why they lost that one. But at first, like I said, they at least they group up and they start moving together, and then they execute their plan. It just so happens that it comes, it's the really quick decisions they need to make after that. I think they need to work on.
Ah, timing's overrated.
Hold on, did someone ask? I see some stuff in... On Salili, Salleile, you asked, what exactly is high ground such an advantage? What a fucking question, boys. What a fucking question. Female, you said seeing the head of your opponents as well, you're most likely to do a headshot. Hold on. This guy asked a fucking question, and we're gonna give him a goddamn answer. Hold on. We're gonna go to the book. Hold on, I gotta find my book. All right, guys. I got my book. Yeah, there is a book. It's a book that Sun Tzu, The Art of War. No, I do have that book too. That's within arm's reach. No, my notebook. I got like 10 pages written about Overwatch. Hold on, he asked about high ground, right? That's about my pyramid, 4 phases of combat, attack versus defense concepts, terrain advantages. No, terrain advantages on defense is what we want to look at. So, like, we have a good backdrop. King's Row. Yeah, maybe we can use King's Row as an example. Let me try to relate it to it. Hold on, where the fuck is my high ground page? Man, my handwriting is such shit. If I actually fucking A. What did I write? I don't know what the fuck I write sometimes. It's like high ground is often spoken about as an absolute, like it was in the Star Wars movies. And I always think about, whenever I think about this, when the casters talk about high ground, I always think, you know, Anakin, I got the high ground, but instead of Anakin, it's like Hanzo, or it's Genji. And Genji's like, Hanzo, don't do it, I got the high ground. And then Hanzo just puts an arrow in his fucking head from the low ground. It's like, oh yeah, the high ground actually doesn't mean that much. It means something. The high ground gives 2 primary advantages. The first is options. And by options, I mean like, so if we talk about high ground, let's just talk about very quickly, and not like this is applicable in this game, but this. Let's say this is the high ground. Let's say the team's holding up here. So when I say the first advantage is options, if the enemy team's down here, the high ground advantage is 1, I can fall over here and attack you, I can fall over here and attack you, I can fall over here and attack you. I can just not attack you at all. I can stay on the high ground, and I can attack behind you or above you, and like, I have all these options, while people on the low ground, they don't have any of those. In fact, if high ground stays back far enough, low ground has no ability to attack them whatsoever. This is the first thing that you get. You get the ability to choose when you attack from the high ground. On Dorado, on that U point, so this is the route of the payload, and there's this high ground up here. Like, if they didn't contest the high ground, you could keep all 6 players up here, and you could just wait and attack at any single point of this path. This is one of the bigger advantages of high ground. The other one is information. So at the high ground, if we're looking like a guy like this, I can see everything that happens all the time.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, donation! Kage donated $8, man. Thanks for the fucking donation. Yeah, fucking A, man. Thanks for the 10 or $8. So information. I can see everything you're doing. Let me draw a blue guy. Whatever you're doing, whatever your team composition is, I can see it. Not only that, but like, I can see your other teammates. I can see how they're doing, what your general strategy is. So I can see everything that you want to do, and then I can make decisions based off of that. While you, on the other hand, cannot. You only get to see what I show you. So if I show you one guy, that's all you can really tell. And the closer you get to the high ground, the more I can conceal information and the more I can see of you. These are the really big things about high ground. And actually, those are like the only two things I really will say about a high ground advantage. Yes, it is true. If there's someone up here and I'm shooting down, yeah, maybe you can get a headshot easier. But some people will have a hard time shooting at this angle. Like, it's just a very moot point. It is a true point to an extent, but I wouldn't call it like a huge advantage of it. So let me just read more from my... First is options, the second is information. By options, I mean you get the advantage of choosing when to move. You can stay on the high ground if you believe it will if it will suit you, or you can jump down at any part. Or all of your team can jump down, or part of your team can jump down to fight. So you can also divide that up. This works in tandem with the second advantage high ground gives, which is information. I can't read my own handwriting. You get to see the enemy's movement while at the same time masking your own, denying information to the enemy, and that's really important. Denying information is just as important as getting information. This gives a strong informational advantage to the team with the high ground. They are allowed to pick how, when, and where to attack the enemy's formation, resulting in a high % chance of victory. So that's like my little intro paragraph on high ground. And that's what I primarily believe it is. Other points I won't disagree with. Like, I won't disagree with this headshot. Could be easier, but I just don't think it's that important. That makes a lot of sense. You get it now? Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to have to wrap this up really quick. I got to get going really, really soon. But are there any other questions? Well, we'll just go to this for now. Write a book on strategies? I mean, I wrote like 6 or 7 pages on Dota, and that's where a lot of my theories come from. It's just that in Dota, I didn't feel like I was a bit shy. Like, I didn't feel the information I had was good enough to go to the community with. Also, I wasn't ever in a good spot to talk to people about it. Like, I wasn't a big streamer, I wasn't a big name. It just so happens that in Overwatch, I've been getting more attention, whether it's good or bad for being a Junkrat player. Post pics of the book, Kage said with his donations. Maybe. I mean, it's just really shitty handwriting. But, yeah, I'm in a better spot to talk about this stuff and use basically my methods of playing games and strategy and whatnot. And that's what I really bring to the table, more than just Junkrat fucking air shots, right? Are you going to continue to doing these? I'm going to post it on YouTube. Let's see what type of reaction I get. Do people like it? Do people hate it? Do they get something from it? This one I was definitely less prepared for after the first King's Row match. King's Row is what I was really, really into on this one. The dive comp versus dive comp was fucking baller. I really liked it. So yeah, I mean, if I would like to do more of these. If people have recommendations or suggestions for what pro games that are getting played and they want to see looked at, I'll definitely keep doing these.